All right, so as I said earlier, we are doing a back bend sequence moving towards our peak pose today, which is mermaid pose. If you have two yoga blocks, you can pop them on your mat like I have over here, and I will show you how we're going to lie back over them. Otherwise, you can have a big pillow to support your head and your upper back for a little back bend. Just make sure your neck isn't dropping back and feeling uncomfortable most of all. Okie dokie. So if you've got your blocks or your pillow, place it behind you on your mat and just come to sitting with your legs crossed. The idea here is to have the block or your pillow supporting your ribs and your shoulder blades. So it's putting you to a little back bend. Okay. So my block is running lengthways and it's going to go between my shoulder blades. Okay. Make sure it feels comfortable, and then the block for your head, because we don't want the head dropping back because that'll feel uncomfortable, is popped underneath your head. And it may take a few moments to get that comfortable. So just check in with that. Alternatively, if you don't have two blocks, you can always use a pillow just for a little bit of an extra lift to feel an opening across your chest. Okay. Whichever version you've taken, make sure your neck and your head is supported, that you're not looking backwards behind you and feeling any strain in your neck. Okay. So take a few moments to settle, and of course if it feels uncomfortable, just take the support out from underneath your back and lie flat. Okay. So when you're ready, your legs are crossed to feel a gentle opening into your hips. You make sure that your neck is feeling supported and you're not dropping your head back behind you. Make sure your back feels okay here. You may want to lift your hips and kind of drop the tailbone down a little bit so that you feel that your lower back isn't overarching. This should mainly feel supporting in your upper back, and lower back should feel fairly gently in a back bend. And then when you're ready, bring your arms into a cactus position with your elbows bent. And just let your hands drop down heavily towards the mat, or towards the sides of the mat. You should feel a really nice big stretch across your chest to your shoulders and arms. And just take a few breaths just to ease into this position. And then with your arms in cactus, you're just going to gently glide your elbows up and down along the sides, just to allow a little bit of movement into that stretch. Almost like you're doing little bent arm snow angels with those arms. And you can bring in your breath here as you inhale, move the elbows up. And exhale as you draw your elbows down. And just moving with your breath in a way that feels good for you. If anything feels too strong this morning, just be where you feel comfortable. And connect with your breath. Use this time to just check into how your body is feeling this morning. And listen to any sensation you're experiencing, if you need to take it a little bit more easy, or if you're feeling strong. Listen to your body. From here, take your arms overhead and hold onto your elbows and allow your arms to drop down overhead. So we're just feeling that nice stretch through your triceps into the armpits. And like we spoke about last night, reach up through those elbows so you can almost allow a little extra stretch into the ribs and the sides of your body. And take a nice deep expansive breath here. And then flip your grip, so bring your other forearm on top, a little bit of brain yoga, and then let your arms drop back into that stretch. So we're really opening up the shoulders, which is very useful for back bending. And then just reach up through the sides of the body. Feel a nice stretch, nice deep breath here. And then slowly you're going to release your arms down towards your sides, grounding your hands. Take one more breath here in this little supported back bend. And then ease your way back up to sitting. So you can first prop onto your elbows if you like, and then push up onto your hands, and just come to sitting upright for a moment. Your back will feel a little bit stiff after that, that's all good. You can remove your pillow or your blocks off to the side now. And then uncross your legs and recline back down onto your back. And just take a few breaths here to settle, allowing your back just to relax into the ground. We're coming into a figure 4 stretch. So cross your right ankle over your left thigh and feel that that thigh is rotating outwards, external rotation. So we're warming up that pigeon leg for later on. And then lift your left leg up and take hold of either the back of your thigh. If you're feeling very flexy this morning, maybe you want to hold the shin and just feel a little opening into your right hip. Relax your shoulders and your neck and your head back onto the mat. And just breathe here to ease it. We're going to take this figure 4 into a twist. So with your arms gently out to the sides, twist your right foot towards the left side of the mat. Twisted figure 4. Good. And then feel your chest opening up towards the ceiling. And take a few breaths here. This might feel enough this morning and you can stay here. If you like, you can reach your right hand down towards your bottom left foot and shuffle that thigh back. So you may hold your right foot or toes in a little quad stretch down there. It's quite a pretzel shape, so don't overdo it if it feels too much. Just an optional added stretch. Nice deep breaths. And then when you're ready, release the grip of your bottom foot. If you've taken it, twist back to center, reach both legs up to the ceiling. And then we change the cross of the legs. Cross left ankle over right thigh and feel that left thigh opening out to the side. Take hold of the back of the right thigh or shin, wherever feels good for you this morning. As you come into that figure 4, relax your shoulders back down. And just nice deep breaths here to ease into the hips. Good. Releasing your arms out to the sides to take it into that twist. Twisting your left foot off to the right side of the mat. And opening your chest up towards the ceiling. Just taking a few breaths in that twist. And remember, you have the option to reach your left hand down for your bottom foot and draw that thigh back just a little bit to feel a little quad stretch. Or wherever feels best for you, repeat what you did on the first side. Lovely. Slowly ease that arm back, straightening your legs up towards the ceiling. And then maybe you just want to hug your knees into your chest and do a little rock from side to side, just massaging out your back as we ease into the body this morning. When you're ready, you're going to roll yourself up to hands and knees. Rolling yourself up. And coming over into a child's pose position. So big toes are together, knees are apart, and then walking your hands forwards and just settling into your child's pose. Today, we'll keep those arms nice and active, so really reach through your fingertips, straighten your arms so your elbows are off the ground, and see how far you can walk your fingertips forwards so that you're really starting to feel length into the sides of your body, as if your ribs are moving forwards with your arms. Really lengthening the spine forwards in your child's pose. And from here, walk your hands over to the right-hand side, bringing your chest over your right thigh. And find a stretch down the left side of your body through your ribs, maybe your shoulder into your arm. And take a few deep breaths into your left ribs, left lung, just feeling that nice stretch. Slowly walking back past the center all the way over to the left side. And then finding that stretch down the right side of your body. And nice deep breaths into the right. So when it comes to back bends, we do a lot of these lateral stretches, these side stretches. And maybe a few twists to help warm up the spine for back bends. And a lot of shoulder stretches as well. So we'll be playing with a lot of these shapes this morning. Coming back to center, bring your elbows onto the mat and your hands together into prayer. From here, you'll bend your elbows and move your hands towards the back of your head. And then once you're there, see if you can walk your elbows forwards a little bit more. Let you start to feel a deeper stretch into your triceps, into your upper arms and shoulders. So we're trying to recreate that shape of your top hand in mermaid, where your hands are kind of reaching back towards your upper back. Good. I'm going to give you an option here. This one's quite tough on the shoulders, so for those with shoulder issues, just stay here. This is probably enough. Or if you need to release it even, release. We're going to do a Gomukhasana arm position. So leave your right hand where it is. An option to circle your left hand to the side. And then rotate your thumb towards the floor. And then maybe you bind your hands behind your back. All right. So if you can't see, the shape is like this in child's pose. It's really tough, so don't overdo it. Take a breath there. And if you do that on the first side, release, hands back to prayer. And do the same with the right arm, circling your right hand back. And then maybe finding that bind. Alternatively, just stay in child's pose wherever your shoulders feel best for you in this moment. It can start to get quite intense, so just listen to your body. And let's slowly release, reaching your hands forwards. Take one more breath in your child's pose. And then ease your way up to hands and knees, coming onto all fours. So remember what we spoke about with the fingers. We want to spread those fingers, and maybe you want your pointer finger pointing forwards, and the rest of your fingers spread out from there. Stack your shoulders above your wrists. Good, and we start to warm up with a few rounds of cat-cow. So let's inhale to gaze up, arch the spine and lift your chest. Draw your shoulder blades gently down. And on your exhale, round through the spine, push into your hands, feel a nice stretch through your back. And now moving with your breath as you inhale, lengthen forwards, lift your chest, feel the opening in the front of your body. And as you exhale, round through the spine, push into the hands, feel that stretch through the back of your body. Continue for 3 more rounds with your own rhythm of breath. Just use this time to check into your body, do whatever feels good, whatever you need this morning. Inhale, brings you forwards. And exhale, rounds your back. One more round. Good. And then when you're ready, settling back into a natural curve of your spine. Inhale, reach your right leg up at the back. Today, I'm going to say allow your hips to open. So unlike last night where we kept the hips parallel, allow your hips to open because it'll take your back leg up much higher. Can you feel that? Bend your right knee and reach your toes up towards the ceiling. So you almost got like a little scorpion tail back there. Good. Look forwards. Lean forwards over your wrists. And we're going to bend the elbows like a little baby chaturanga and kick your back thigh up. Squeeze your elbows into your sides as you bend those arms. Kick your toes up nice and high. Take a breath. And exhale, push to straighten your arms back up. Well done. Exhale, step your right foot forwards, moving the right hand out of the way, and settle forwards into a low lunge position. Be on your fingertips to keep a sense of lift in the chest. And you may need to shuffle that foot forward so your knee is stacking over your ankle. Find a nice deep stretch into your back, left hip flexor there. And just take a breath here. When we do back bends, we really focus on opening the front of the thighs, your quads and your hip flexors. So we're starting with all of that here. From here, ground your left hand firmly onto the mat. So your left hand feels nice and grounded. And twist your right hand up towards the ceiling. Take a nice big indulgent twist here. Now from here, gently bend your back knee. Left knee bends. And see if you want to reach your right hand back towards your foot. Might be enough of a stretch because it's a big one. Or maybe you wish to take hold of your back foot here. This can feel quite strong, so just go slowly. And then if you're here, just twisting your chest open. Take a nice deep breath into that stretch. Well done. Slowly you release. Round your hands back and bring your hands back a little bit closer because we're heading back to all fours. Kick your right foot back behind you. Take it up nice and high. Bend your right knee once again. Good. This time, shift your weight over onto your right hand and see if you can reach your left hand back towards your right foot. That's twisting the chest open. And maybe you wish to take hold of that foot. Just go wherever you're going today. Maybe you kick your foot into your hand, lift your chest and twist your shoulders open. Take one more breath wherever you are. Well done. And release it back onto all fours. Good. Let's just flow that up through a few rounds of cat-cow. Inhale to lengthen and arch the spine. And exhale as you round. Just let it go. Inhale, arching the back. And exhale, round the spine. One more round. Lovely. And then when you're ready, settling back into your neutral position. Let's feel that on the other side. Inhale, the left leg reaches back. Take it up nice and high at the back. You're going to need that back leg later on. Bend the knees, scorpion tail. Look forwards. Lean forwards over your wrists. Baby chaturanga and keep those toes up at the back. Yes, bend those elbows, squeeze elbows to your sides. Lift toes up, inhale. Exhale, push back up. Knee to nose to step forwards. Low lunge. Good. So check in here, knees stacked over ankle. Lunge deep into those hips. Be on your fingertips to keep a sense of lift in your chest. Hold here for a few breaths to start to feel that stretch into your back hip flexor. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Good. We're going to shift our weight onto the right hand. Firmly ground the right hand. Twist left hand up towards the ceiling. Take a nice big indulgent twist. Beautiful. We're going to prepare to bend the back knee. Sometimes it's helpful to shuffle that leg away from you a bit. So when you bend the knee, you're not on your kneecap, but rather resting on the top of the thigh. We'll explore that a little bit more just now as well. Maybe you're reaching back for the foot. Maybe you're holding your foot in a quad stretch. Wherever you are is perfect. Take a deep breath in and out. Big stretch. Well done. Slowly we release. Bring your hands back a little bit closer. Kick your left leg back behind you. Take it up nice and high at the back. Allow the hips to open. Weight shifts onto your left hand. Right hand reaches back for right foot. Maybe just reaching or holding the foot. Wherever you are, maybe you're going to kick your foot into your hand and twist your chest open. Take one more breath. Beautiful. And then slowly release and come back to all fours. Well done. So you can already see where we're warming up and the shapes we're creating this morning. Let's step into plank. Before we do, are your fingers still spread? Are your shoulders stacked over your wrist? Step one foot back to tuck the toe. Keep your pelvis and your back pretty much exactly like this. And then step your other foot to meet into plank. Holding your plank position. Try and keep your legs nice and active. Strong, active quads pushing away from the floor. Spread those fingers. Nice and strong. Now don't move your feet. Try and keep your hands and feet where they are as you push your hips up into downward facing dog. Good. So your down dog might feel a little bit longer than normal. And the reason why we do this is when we start to step forwards and back and link poses, your hands and your feet are a great distance here. When you step forwards, your foot will always be in the right place. Okay, so we'll see that later on when we do the standing poses. Good. Let's slowly walk the feet forwards towards the top of the mat. Coming to stand between the hands. And inhale to halfway lift. And because we're doing back bend today, really emphasize the lift in your chest. Feel your shoulder blades almost pressing into your back and lifting and opening across those collarbones. Feel that work into the upper back. And then exhale to forward fold and relax the back of your neck. Rise on up to standing as we inhale, reach arms up. And like we spoke about last night, really reach up through those arms. Reach, 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 reach. Allow your shoulders to lift up a little bit towards your ears. But relax your neck. And then soften arms down to your sides. Come to your Tadasana, mountain pose. Good. So feet together, all hip distance apart. Spread your toes. Root down through the soles of your feet. Weight even across the balls of your feet and your heels. Turn your palms to face forwards. Lift your chest. And very gently feel your shoulder blades drawing a little together and down. And connect back with your breath. Taking a moment to ground. Eyes open, inhale, arms reaching up, high mountain, really reach. And if you like, lift your chest just a little bit, more from the upper back than your lower back, into a little baby back bend. Good. Drop your right arm down to your side and take a little side stretch over to the right. So again, we're bringing in those lateral stretches to help warm up the spine. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, left arm drops to your side, little side stretch to the left. Beautiful. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, slow forward fold coming all the way down. Relax your neck. Inhale, hands to shins, halfway lift, work your upper back, really press your chest forwards. Always feel like you're coming into a little back bend here. And then ground your hands, step your feet back into plank. Hold in your plank. Feel your strength. Spread those fingers. Stack shoulders over wrists. Active thighs, pushing away from the floor. And from here, push into your hands as if you're pushing the ground away to move back into downward facing dog. Keeping your hands and feet the same distance as your plank. Breathing here. Let's see now, take the right leg up for three-legged dog. And today, allow your hips to open so your back leg lifts higher up at the back. Bend your right knee and take your right heel over towards your left sit bone and just start to feel a nice opening into that hip. Turn back to three-legged dog and take a big step forwards between your hands. Move your right hand out of the way, makes it much easier to step, and lower your left back knee down to the ground. Inhale your arms up. Anjaneyasana, crescent moon pose. So here in this lunge, place your hands on your ribs for a moment. Instead of sinking and dumping into your lower back, think of almost lifting your ribs away from your hips, so you're creating this lift and length in the sides of your body. Continue that lift up through your arms as you reach up through your fingers. So we're not sinking into the back, we're trying to lift up and lengthen the spine. Can you feel the difference? And then here, just a little lift in your chest so you access more of your upper back instead of overworking your lower back. We'll need that later on for our mermaid. Beautiful. Drop your right hand to your side, take a little side stretch over to the right. Nice. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, cactus your arms with a little upper back bend. Remember, don't sink into the lower back. Keep that lifting up. Inhale, reach arms up. Then circle your hands behind you to interlace your fingers. Inhale, lift your chest, little back bend, using the upper back. Good, well done. Inhale, reach arms up one more time. Feel that reach. Exhale, hands to the mat. Tuck your back toes, straighten the back, knees, feet back, three-legged dog. And back into downward facing dog. Take a moment to come back to your breath. On the other side, inhale, left leg rises up, take it up nice and high, allow the hips to open. Bend the left knee, tip your heel over towards the right hip, just feel that stretch. Turn back to three-legged dog. And when you're ready, step forwards between the hands. Lowering right knee down to the mat. And inhale, arms up, crescent moon pose. Again, you may want to feel hands onto ribs. Lengthen through the waist. Reach up through those arms. We're not sinking into the lower back. We're reaching up and up through the spine. Dropping left hand down, little side stretch to the left. And inhale, arms up. Exhale, cactus arms, little upper back bend, just by lifting your chest. Inhale, arms reach up. Circling hands behind your back, interlace fingers. Inhale, lift your chest, little upper back bend. Good, don't throw your head back. Keep your neck in line with your spine. Yes, good. And then inhale to reach up through those arms. Feel that reach. And bringing hands back to the mat. Straighten the back leg, feet back, three-legged dog, left leg reaches up. And back into downward facing dog. Gazing to the top of the mat. Option to walk, step, or jump forwards between your hands. Bringing hands to shins. Inhale, halfway lift. Press chest forwards. Really lifting the chest. And then exhale to forward fold and relax through the back of your neck. Rising on up to standing. Inhale, arms reach up. Feel that reach up through those fingertips. And again, instead of sinking into your lower back, lift your chest for a little back bend, more by just lifting the chest and using your upper back. And then release arms down to your sides, close your eyes, and take a few breaths here to ground. Come back to your breath. Check back in with your body. And gently allow your eyes to open. Coming into chair pose, Utkatasana, so with feet together or apart if that feels better for you. Bend your knees and brush your fingertips across the mat. So we get nice and low. Feel your weight is back in your heels and your bum is dropping down as if you're going to squat down towards a seated position. Keep your legs this bent and then inhale, reach your arms up. The more weight you shift back into your heels, the lower you can squat down. Circle your hands behind your back, interlace your fingers. Inhale, lift your chest, little back bend in chair. Good. Then keep fingers interlaced as you straighten your knees and forward fold and relax the back of your neck. Nice. Release your hands to the ground. And then inhale to halfway lift, press chest forwards. Exhale, release hands to the mat, step back into your plank. Holding your plank for strength. Shoulders are stacked over wrists. Fingers are spreading wide. Active legs pushing away from the ground. Slow, strong push. Really feel that work into your arms as you push back into your downward facing dog. Sweep your right leg up for three-legged dog. And again, we bend the knee and open the hip. For those working with shoulder issues, I don't recommend you flip your dog into wild thing here. You may just want to stay where you are. If you're happy to, you can step your right foot off the mat and flip your downward dog into wild thing, pressing hips and shoulders back. Lift your chest, breathe in, and then flipping back into three-legged dog. Right leg reaches up. Good. Big step forwards between the hands. Moving into high lunge. Focus your eyes for balance as we inhale, reach arms up. Good. So we're on the ball of that back foot, so it's a little bit of challenge to balance, which is good. Drop your right arm to the side, little side stretch to the right. Good. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, cactus arms with a little back bend. Lift your chest. Inhale, arms up. Beautiful. Circle your hands behind your back. Inhale, lift your chest. Now we'll ground your back heel and forward fold to a humble warrior pose, bringing your right shoulder to your inner right thigh and reaching your arms up towards the ceiling. Relax your neck. Beautiful. See how much you can straighten the arms, only if that feels okay. Bring your hands to the mat. Turn back into the ball of your back foot. Sweep back, three-legged dog. And back to downward facing dog. Take a moment to breathe. And ground here. Left leg rises up, three-legged dog. Bending the left knee, opening up the hip. So a lot of you with right shoulder issues will definitely stay here. Otherwise, you have the option to flip your dog, press over into a wild thing, lifting hips and shoulders up. Right, strong on the shoulders, don't overdo it, and then flip back into three-legged dog. Left leg reaches up. Good. Big step forwards between the hands for high lunge. Focus eyes for balance. Inhale, reach up. And again, feel those ribs lifting up as you reach up through those fingertips. Left arm drops down, little side stretch to the left. Feel how the spine is warming up. Inhale, arms reach up. And you know, cactus arms, little back bend. Inhale, reaching up. Circling hands behind you, interlace your fingers. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, ground the back heel. Forward fold, humble warrior pose. Straightening those arms, relaxing the neck, and breathing here in your humble warrior. Bringing hands back to the mat, turn back into the ball of the back foot. Kick back, three-legged dog, left leg up. Then moving back into downward facing dog. Take a moment to ground. And come back to your breath. Let's lower to child's pose. Big toes together, knees apart. Rest for a moment. Because back bends can feel quite intense, because it might be a little bit hot, or for some of you, freezing cold. Wherever you are, just rest in a comfortable position. And just use this time to kind of check into your body, feel where we've really warmed up, in the back, in the shoulders, in the hips and thighs, arms wherever they feel comfortable, and breathe. Feel how your body is responding to the sequence. You'll notice we haven't done loads of active back bends like upward dogs and camel poses because that often just tires out your back muscles before then doing a big back bend. So we rather use other shapes and other stretches to warm up the back so that your back isn't too tired by the end when we really want to use the back bend. Reaching your arms forwards and pressing back into downward facing dog. Gazing to the top of the mat, walk, step, or jump to your hands. Inhale to halfway lift, focus on the chest, really pressing forwards. And exhale to forward fold. Rising on up to standing, inhale, reach up through those arms, really reach, and if it feels good, little upper back bend as you reach up. And then relaxing arms down to your sides, close your eyes, come back to your breath. Eyes open and coming from our chair pose once again, feet together or apart if that feels best for you. Bending the knees, brushing fingertips across the mat, sit back into your chair pose, weight into those heels. Bring your hands to heart center and take a twist towards the right, hooking your left elbow to your right outer thigh. Lean your shoulders back to twist your chest open. Good, twist, twist, twist. Now with your weight on your right foot, feel your left foot becoming lighter and take a step back with your left foot so you find yourself into a twisted lunge. Yes, well done, not an easy transition. Rise up into high lunge, reach up. Good, and from high lunge, ground your back heel and turn to the side for warrior two. Good. Focus on pressing your right thigh out. Lean the shoulders back to stack over your hips. Gaze over your front hand. Nice. Inhale, straighten your arms and legs into like a little star pose. And now swivel your feet. Left toes turn out, right toes turn in. And take warrior two to your left leg. That's it. Bring your left elbow onto your thigh or left fingertips to the ground and sweep your right arm over in line with your ear for a side angle pose. Good, well done. Feel that nice side body stretch. Keep your bend in your left knee and reverse your warrior, sweeping back. With the option to bind your hands like we did in child's pose. Left elbow bends, right hand circles back. We bind the hands and take a little added stretch to reach that top elbow up. Shoulder people, I would avoid this one. Good. Release and wimble your hands to the back of the mat. So come down towards your left foot and step back into downward facing dog. You're now in down dog facing the back of your mat. And take a few deep breaths here to ground. Inhale your right leg up, three-legged dog. Take a big step forwards between your hands. And we're moving into a circular flow. So turn to a goddess pose facing the other side of your mat. Bending the elbows, cactus arms. Inhale to straighten arms and legs for star. And bending the knees, goddess pose, cactus arms with a little back bend. Inhale to straighten star. Exhale, goddess with cactus, little back bend. One more time. Inhale to straighten. Exhale, goddess with a back bend. Inhale, straighten, swivel on your feet to face the front of your mat. High lunge, left legs in front. Good, you got it. Bring your hands to heart center. Step forwards and come into standing figure four. Right ankle crosses over your left thigh. Focus eyes for balance. Figure four at the front of your mat. Right ankles crossed over left thigh. Good, now you can stay here. Or option to move into dancer's pose, taking hold of the inner arch of your right foot. Reaching left arm up to the side. Focus eyes for balance. Kick your toes into your backhand and then gently start to tip forwards, keeping your chest lifted and reaching those toes up at the back. Take one more breath. And then squeeze thighs together to come out of the pose and release back to Tadasana. Well done. And take a moment to ground. Come back to your breath. And when you're ready, let's bring that back around. Sweeping from the ground. Utkatasana, chair pose. Bring hands to heart center. Take a twist to the left, hooking right elbow to your outer thigh. Lean your shoulders back to twist your chest open. The more you lean back, the more you can twist. Yes. Weight is on your left foot now. Right foot feels lighter. Big step back into a twisted high lunge. Good. Inhale, arms up into high lunge. Warrior two, ground your back heel. Turn to the side, press your right thigh out. Stack your shoulders above your hips. Gaze over your front hand in your warrior two. Inhale to straighten arms and legs. Swivel on the feet. Take warrior two to the back of your mat. Right leg is in front. And moving into side angle pose, elbows on the thigh. Or if you like, fingers to the ground. And sweep your left arm overhead in line with your ear. And twist chest open, feeling that nice stretch through the side of the body. We reverse our warrior, sweeping back. Option to bind your hands, Ulukasana arms, cow face arms, and reach up through that top elbow. Nice. Release, windmilling arms to the back of the mat, and stepping back to downward dog, facing the back of your mat. Well done. Take a moment to breathe. Left leg reaches up, three-legged dog. Big step forwards for goddess pose. Coming up to face the side of your mat. You've gone in a big circle now. And landing in your goddess pose. Cactus arms, little back bend. Beautiful. Inhale to straighten arms and legs for star. Exhale, goddess, cactus, little upper back bend. Two more like this. Inhale to reach up. Exhale, goddess, squat, lift your chest. And one last time. Inhale to straighten. Exhale, goddess pose. Beautiful. Inhale to straighten, swivel to face the front of your mat into a high lunge. Coming into standing figure four, cross left ankle over right thigh. Squat down into your standing figure four, find your balance. You have the option to stay here if this is enough, or moving into your dancer's pose, we hold the inner arch of the left foot. Reach right arm up, lift your chest, and then slowly kick your foot into your back hand to create that bow shape. And maybe tilting forwards to reach those toes higher up at the back. Take one more breath. And when you're ready, squeezing thighs together to come back to standing. And releasing ground here in Tadasana. Just let it all go. Check back into your body. Feel how everything is warmed up. Come back to your breath. Let's flow it out. Inhale, arms reach up. Little back bend just by lifting your chest. Exhale, slow forward fold. Coming all the way down. Relax your neck. Inhale to a halfway lift. Exhale, ground your hands, step back for plank. This time, bring your knees to the ground. And then lean forwards. So you're almost in a kneeling plank position with your shoulders, hips, and knees in one diagonal line. From here, slow chaturanga. Let's go down in 10. You're going to start bending your elbows. Squeezing your elbows to your ribs. Lean forwards and look forwards. The more you go forwards, the better. Good. Inhale, curl to a baby cobra. Lifting your chest. Squeezing those elbows back. And then strong push back into downward facing dog. Good. Let's start to enter our pigeon. Inhale, right leg reaches up, three-legged dog. And exhale to come forwards into pigeon. All right. So in your pigeon here, let's talk about where that knee is going. You want your knee towards your outer right wrist. Okay? So as your foot comes forwards, take that knee wider than your hip. Okay? And this foot fairly close towards your left hip so that your leg is at an easy angle and your knee is super wide out to the side, maybe towards the very edge of your mat on the right. Okay? The wider that knee is, the more of a stable base we're going to be creating. And it doesn't matter about bringing your foot up nice and high. It's about actually here being able to ground down a little bit more through your hips. Now from here, tuck your back toes and slide your left back leg back as much as possible. Okay, so your hips have come lower to the ground and then forward fold and settle into your pigeon. Okay, your right knee is wide and you've shuffled your left foot back as far away from you as possible. If anyone is having any issues with their knee here, this pose can be quite sticky for your knee. You can place a block, and I actually recommend it when we do the final pose, underneath your right bum cheek, underneath your sit bone. Okay, so you take the weight rather through the block than into your knee, and you'll feel that will totally change your experience in pigeon. You've got a lot of options here. Good. In your pigeon, walk your hands over to the right side and feel a nice little side body stretch through the left side of your body. And then move to the other side, walk your hands to the left and feel a nice side body stretch through the left side of your body. Bring your hands back to center. Ground your left forearm parallel to the front of the mat and twist your right hand up to the ceiling. Take a little twist in your pigeon. And exhale to bring that back. Change arms, right forearm parallel to the front of the mat. Twist left arm up towards the ceiling. And exhale, bring it back. Walk back up onto your fingertips. Your right knee is still wide and you've shuffled your left foot back as much as possible. Moving into a quad stretch, slowly bend your left back knee. And I recommend bringing your right hand to the center of the mat so you feel nice and centered and supported. If this feels terrible, a block or a pillow under your right bum cheek will really help you to feel like you can sit more evenly here. Okay. Take hold of your back foot and find a little stretch for that quad. See if you can be more upright in your chest here. If that feels okay for your back. So you're starting to feel a little back bend. If it's strong on your back, keep your chest more forwards and just be where you feel okay. All right, take one more breath here. And for a little challenge, see how light you can make your right hand. The idea here is to be able to sing to yourself that your right hand could float. Okay, but it doesn't all happen together, so if that's not happening today, that's all right. Let's release back to downward dog. Just stretch it out. If you'd like to roll forwards into plank, and again do a little chaturanga, moving into cobra, or if you like, upward dog, and just flow your way back into downward dog. Just release all of that out. Let's feel on the left. Left leg rises up, three-legged dog, and bring it through to your pigeon. So your knee has gone wide out to the side, wider than your wrist, wider maybe than your mat. Shuffle your right foot back as much as you can and keep your left heel fairly close towards your right hip. It doesn't need to go parallel to the front of your mat. Okay, and then settle into a forward fold. Remember, you have the option to place a block underneath your right thigh or bum cheek so that you feel more supported through the pelvis. Walk your hands over to the left, feel a nice side stretch, and breathe. And then walking hands over to the right side, side stretch, and soften. Coming back to center, we bring the right forearm parallel to the front of the mat and twist left hand up to the ceiling. Nice. And then changing sides, left elbow grounds, right hand twist up to the ceiling. And then coming back to center, walk up onto your fingertips and just sit upright. Okay? See how that feels to be upright in pigeon. Could you lift your hands? Could you feel that you could be stable? Attempt all of these options. It's not easy. Yes. And then from here, left fingers to the middle of the mat. Reach your right hand back for your right foot. Remember, the further you shuffle that thigh back, the easier it is to rest more onto the back of your thigh, or the front of your thigh rather, than on your kneecap. Okay, it makes a huge difference. Maybe this is enough, just hold in that stretch. If you want a little more, sit more upright. If you want to test your balance, feel your left fingertips becoming lighter. Just be wherever you are. This is a really big pose. Wherever you are is perfect. One last breath, just play with it. Try and keep your weight even through right and left sides. And then slowly release. Push back into your downward facing dog. All right, we're going to head into our mermaid pose now, okay? You might just repeat one of those previous options, but we're going to explore taking it a little bit further, only if you want to. Right leg reaches up, three-legged dog. Come forwards into pigeon. Now remember, the base is crucial here, so make sure, have you taken your knee wide out to the side? Have you slid your back toes as far away from you as possible? Good. Can you lift your hands off here and feel like you kind of got a stable base? Because that's going to have a huge impact. Yes, nice, everyone. That's looking awesome. Okay. Now, ground your right fingertips in front of you in the middle of the mat. Reach your left hand back for your left foot. Come into a little quad stretch. Okay, now this is really stretchy. It's really tough. Remember, block underneath the right bum cheek is going to offer you a lot of stability here. So don't play with that if you like. Okay. So now see if your left fingertips can feel lighter in front of you. Sorry, your right fingertips. Right fingertips are feeling lighter. You've got hold of your back foot. Check that you've got the stable base. Yes. Now from here, see if you can draw your left foot a little bit closer to your bum, and maybe your elbow shuffles towards your toes. And maybe you start to reach your left fingertips towards your left shoulder. Now your quad is screaming at you. So don't force anything. Watch your mind. Be where you are is perfect. If we're okay here, maybe you reach your right hand up. Maybe your hands come towards one another and do that little bind we were playing with earlier. If you are just able to sit here in a quad stretch, well done. If you're able to sit here without hands, amazing. We're going to do this lot, so don't stress about it. When you're ready, lift your chest. The more you lift up, like we felt in those lunges, the more it takes it out of your lower back as well, which is hugely helpful. Lift, 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 lift those ribs away from your hips. Okay, well done. Back to downward dog, and don't stop. Let's see if we can feel that on the other side. So when you're ready, left leg up, three-legged dog. Come forwards into your pigeon. Now don't rush this. Don't rush. Take that knee wide out to the side. Shuffle your right foot back as much as possible. Yes. Some awesome stable bases there. Check here. Lift your chest, be upright. Can you lift your hands? That's major. Yes. Well done. You guys are doing really well. Okay, left finger's in front of you. Right hand reaches back for that right foot. The more you can shuffle your back leg away. Yes, Clara, if you can shuffle your back knee away from you more and rest more on kind of the top of your thigh here than on your kneecap, it feels way easier. Wow, Miriam, what a beautiful pose. Maybe your toes shuffle towards your inner elbow. That might feel like crazy. That's right, it is. Wherever you're holding, maybe think of your right hand reaching up towards the ceiling. You've kept a stable base. Nice, Nicole, good. Just balancing on the hips here is huge. So don't worry about where your hands are. If you want to go into mermaid, I can see some of you that comes easily in your practice, go for it. Or just find your balance. You're doing great. Well done, everyone. Amazing. Last few moments to explore. Or if you need to get out of this position, go for it. Yes, nice, Matt. Nice balance. Nice, Ari. You got the balance. That is the biggest thing. Yes, Ruan. Awesome. Back into downward dog. Well done, everyone. If you're just getting started and want to go again, go for it. Clara, take your left knee wider out to the side. Yes, slide that leg away. And now you're going to feel you've got a broader base to kind of sit into. How does that feel? Awesome. Yes, gorgeous. Stretch out in downward dog. And then just take a few breaths just to release out your back. It's a strong pose. That's it, Ruan. Nice. Now lift your chest, Ruan. Feel that lifting of your ribs out of your waist. Yes, perfectly upright. And then a little bit of emphasis to push into your right foot and shin so that you've got a bit of strength as you maybe float your right hand forwards. Excellent. Well done, everyone. Yes, nice, Matt. Awesome balance. All right. Let's begin to wind down. From your downward dog, slowly walk your feet forwards towards the top of the mat. And then just forward fold and relax your back. Whew. Well done. You can hold your elbows and just kind of hang out if you want, or bend your knees and just be in a soft forward fold. Nice. You can sway a little from right to left, and that also might help just your back muscles to soften. And maybe you felt that mermaid felt totally different today because we warmed up possibly differently to how you've done it before. Okay, ground your hands into the floor, take a nice low squat, malasana. Shuffle your feet wide apart and squat down, bringing your shoulders between your knees. And just allow your back to now gently round. Yes, nice. You can even put your hands towards the floor, or elbows towards the floor, and just kind of surrender into that forward fold. Whoever's feeling good for your body in this moment. Nice. And then sit back down onto your bum and slowly lower down onto your back. And as you lie on your back, just keep your knees bent and your feet grounded. So we're just allowing your spine to settle back into a natural position. First, just nice and neutral. And totally normal for your back to feel quite active now after all of that work. So just kind of let it settle. Good. Hug your right knee into your chest and send your left leg straight down along the mat. And just give that right knee a good hug. So pushing that side of your back into the mat. And then with your left hand, guide your right knee across your body into a little twist towards the left. Good, left hand to right knee, and then just twist your right knee across your body into a twist towards the left side. That's it. As far as what feels good for you, your bottom foot can roll with you. Your knee and foot may lie off to the side of your mat. Just feel that softening through your back. And gently ease your way back to center. Send your right leg straight down along the floor, just back into a nice natural position. And when you're ready, hugging the left knee up into your chest, give your left knee a nice big hug, just squeezing it in. And then with your right hand guiding that knee across your body into a gentle twist towards the right. Going as far as what feels comfortable for your body in this moment, wherever it feels good. Indulge in any way you'd like. Breathe deep. And just use your exhale to soften and relax. When you're ready, easing yourself back to center and hugging both knees into your chest now. Nice big hug. And just really feeling that release of your back into the mat. If you'd like to add a little rock from side to side, feel free to, or maybe just be still where you are. You can stay like this, or option to take hold of your feet for happy baby pose, where you'll hold the outer edges of your feet, bringing your knees wide out to the sides. And again, you can rock from side to side, or just stay exactly where you are. Lovely. And then hugging your knees to your chest one last time. Curl your nose up and bring your nose to squeeze between your knees, lifting your head off the mat, curling into a tight little ball. Curl, 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 curl. Really pressing the whole back line of your body into the mat. Take one more breath and then relax and release down for your final relaxation in Shavasana. About any of these poses, you'll be guided in more detail, and just to go to where it works for you. That is the yoga more than anything else. Okay. Any other questions before we talk about the course overview? Hi, Nicole. Sorry, I didn't see your hand up there.
Sorry. I just wanted to ask something simple and quite silly. I feel silly asking, but just breathing like in cat and cow. I get quite confused when I must breathe out, when I must breathe in. I don't know what I'm doing. Is that normal?
It's so normal. And most importantly, just breathe. Okay. So rather don't hold your breath if it's not coordinating with your movement. Just allow your breath to flow naturally. If you want to coordinate it with cat-cow, and with a choreographed breath, which is not important, you would inhale in the cow, the arched back, and then exhale when you round in the cat stretch. And that's kind of the general breath you would use for those two movements. But if you feel like you're just holding your breath, then that's really against the point, and just keep your breath flowing naturally. Because it's also really tough when you start teaching your beginners to try and get them to move, first of all, into these yoga poses, and then breathe with coordination. It's just too much. So just breathe. And if it feels good to add on the inhale and the exhale, go for it. But it's not important.
Okay. And then I just wanted to ask with also cat-cow, but the sort of like you on the one arm and the one leg is up kind of thing. When you lose your balance, should you go back to sort of all fours and then start again? Or should you sort of like wobble until you get to a point where you can hold the position?
So is this when one arm is forwards as well, Nicole, and one leg is back? So it's going to feel a little bit wobbly. So, I mean, you can fight to feel that balance. If you feel like you've really lost it and you've fallen over, then rather just start, reset yourself, and then start again. Remember, the most important thing when it comes to our balance is, like we felt last night in the Warrior 3 class, was your focal point, that drishti, which is a skill we're going to use loads, especially when we do things like crow and little arm balances, is using that focal point to help us with balance.
Okay, excellent.
So maybe explore with that a little bit more too.
Okay, thanks so much.
But balance, none of us are perfect balancing, and it's also fine if you fall over. It's all part of the fun. Okie dokie. All right. So we're just going to chat a little bit around what is required of you over the course. First of all, go slowly and don't push yourselves like we've chatted about already, all right? We want to keep you going and getting strong over the next few weeks, especially now. The next few weekends are going to be very pose focused, because we want to teach you all the poses so that you have time to practice and integrate all this new information. Okay, so we're going to be doing loads of poses with me this weekend and next weekend as well. So just listen to your body, don't force anything. You have time in between the week to then go over the poses again, and if you have any questions, just let me know. Okay. Alrighty. So the three main areas for this course where you will need to pass, and the three main sections that we'll be focusing on, is your pose review. Okay, so this is where you'll be learning all the poses with me in these sessions. All right, we'll be meeting in smaller groups of about 6 of us. Okay, I'm going to help you to really work on your poses, that it works for your body. Okay, so some of you might be doing it differently to others. You're not expected to do the most perfect pose and balance on your hands in the middle of the room by the end of this. We're going to find where your practice is suiting you best. Okay. At the end of the course, you'll be assessed on these poses. Okay. And in your course overview, we'll have a look at it later on. There's a list of poses, and it's basically going to be all the poses I'm teaching you, most of which we're going to do this weekend. Okay, some standing poses, some twists, some forward bends, some back bends, a few little arm balances, and you'll be assessed on your poses at the end. Okay, but don't worry, because you're going to meet me in smaller groups that know exactly what you need to work on in order to pass. Okay, and the idea is so that when you go out there as a teacher, that you can demonstrate these poses and look good. Okay, so we are very much looking at it as an aesthetic kind of look point of view. I mean, when we're teaching, it's fine for people just to move into their bodies wherever feels good for them. But for you guys, because you're going to be teachers, you need to look good when you go out there and demonstrate and show that you know what's going on. So I will get a little harder on you as we go. And if I feel that you need a little bit of extra work on certain poses, I'm going to tell you, okay, Ari, I want you to work on your plank, downward dog, and chaturanga. And then you can send me pictures and we'll work even more on an individual basis. Okay. But you'll see how that will all unfold over the next few weeks. Now you're just learning the poses. So just kind of take that all in. Does that make sense? Okay, so that'll be one of your assessments. Okay. And then secondly, you'll be designing your own peak pose sequence. Okay, so you've seen with the classes that we've done so far, we have a peak pose in mind, okay? And you see how we've used the prep poses to build us up for that sequence, right? Okay, so this is really going to be a layering process. First, you're learning all the poses, okay? So you're understanding what is stretching, what is happening in the poses with me, okay? Then the next level of that, you'll learn to break down a peak pose. Like we did this morning, mermaid pose. We broke it down into a little quad stretch at the back, a pigeon leg in the front. We warmed up our shoulders and we looked at what was going on in the pose and knowing it's a little back bend, okay? And then you'll be doing this work with Taryn to learn how to break down a pose and then also to sequence for a pose. You don't need to worry about that now because it's all going to unfold, okay? And I know it's quite exciting and you want to rush ahead and kind of get started. Don't, because you're only going to confuse yourself and stress yourself out, okay? So just enjoy the poses. The next layer will be moving towards understanding how to sequence and break down poses, which you'll be doing with Taryn in a few weeks' time, okay? Any questions on that? You don't even have to worry about it now, but that is another assignment you'll be doing, a sequencing assignment. Okay, we good? All right.
Yes.
Yes,
Sounds
who's talking? Marley, you all good?
Marley, yes.
Okay. And then third, another major one, is you're going to do a little teaching practical, okay? It's only for 30 minutes, okay? I know it seems super scary and everyone starts stressing out. Don't, okay? Don't stress out. You will be assigned a sequence to teach. So we are literally going to hand you the sequence and the words, and say, find a person and just start teaching, because we understand it may be scary, you're going to be nervous, there's all these emotions involved. We're going to make it as easy for you as possible, just so that you can teach a class. Okay, it's only for 30 minutes, and it'll be one of the 3 sequences that I'm teaching you now. Okay, so either the Warrior 3 sequence you did last night, the mermaid sequence you did this morning, and tomorrow I'm going to teach you an arm balancing sequence. So you will have done it with me. There's recordings on the website for you to do it in your own time during the week. And then you'll be printed the whole sequence with everything you need to say word by word. So you'll be super prepared and so bored of it by the time you get there, and you'll know exactly what you're doing. Okay. So those are the 3 main sections that you need to pass for this course. Okay, it's not so bad. And I promise we are here. It's our job to get you through every one of those steps. Okay, so we're here to hold your hand and guide you through the process, and you'll be totally fine. We do it all the time, and don't stress. Hey, Catherine.
Yes. It's useless though, because we tell you not to stress and you're going to stress. So it's
You're going to stress anyway.
You're going to stress anyways, but it's fine. We'll get you through. We'll get you through your stress.
And it will seem daunting and overwhelming at times, but that is also the process of fun and learning, right? Okay, so those are the 3 main things. Along the way, you may have a few other things you'll hand into us. You're going to do a little bit of anatomy with Catherine, which you'll be starting today, and start to learn about anatomy. You may have a few other little things to hand in along the way, but those are the 3 main things you'll be focusing on. Okay. So just a little bit, any sessions that you miss, or if your Wi-Fi goes out or something happens, or if you have emergency that you need to run off to, all these sessions are recorded and put on our YouTube channel. So you've been sent the link on your email. Okay, so if you miss anything, or maybe during the week you actually can't remember how to do Warrior 2 and you want to watch the session again to recap, all our sessions will be recorded and put on the YouTube channel for you to watch. Okay. You've all seen that link to be able to access it. Okay, perfect. All right, and then if something happens and you miss a session, please try and catch up as quickly as possible so that you don't fall behind. All right, because as I say, all of this is a process that we're kind of layering, and we don't want you to fall behind and get a little bit lost. So if you miss anything, please catch up as soon as possible. Okie dokie. And I think that is the main things I wanted to chat about. Any questions on that? Feeling good? Awesome. So I'm going to hand you over to Catherine to talk about the schedule.
Laura, can you give me share screen access?
Yes. So do you need to ask me for that? How do I do that? Okay.
Click on it. And
I'm going to make you the host.
It says you disabled my attendee screen sharing ability.
Oh, I didn't even see anything pop up. I'm going to make you the host.
Okay.
Okay, so it's all over to you now.
Okay, let's see if it works. Here we go. Okay, can everybody see the Excel spreadsheet?
Yes.
Yes, you can. Okay,
Yes.
cool. All right. So first of all, before the spreadsheet stuff, I want to know, has everybody logged on to our website and onto Jenny Rowling's site?
Yes.
Okay, because that is incredibly important, right? I want to see you all on top. Hang on. Okay. All right. So that's the first thing. You need to be able to log on to our website and the Jenny Rowling's website. Okay. So, and have a little explore, have a little look around the website. just to both websites, just to familiarize yourself where things are. So that's really important. Make sure you've got the 2 YouTube channels. So that's our YouTube and Jenny Rowling's YouTube, because you're going to need them both, okay, as we go through the course. So make sure all your tech stuff is sorted out. So that's important. I want to emphasize a little bit stronger than Laura did on if you miss sessions. If you miss sessions, I would like you personally to send a message to the respective teacher saying that you are going to miss the session. And the reason that I'm being a little bit strict about this is because often people think that, oh, you know, they'll miss this session and that session. And then, like Laura says, they don't catch up. And the minute you don't catch up on this course, you will fall behind. So we really want you to try and attend as many sessions as you can. And if you do miss, let us know that you've missed, or, you know, your Wi-Fi is broken or whatever, or that you're going to miss. And then make sure that you catch up within like a day, because you will, it's kind of like you'll all get through this course, it's fine, but there is quite a lot of work in quite a short period of time. And if you fall behind, you will struggle, because we've layered this course using Laura's words. It's so precisely done to guide you towards the end of it. So it's crucial that you keep up to date, okay? I really can't stress strongly enough, because we've seen it so many times. You miss one thing and then you don't bother to catch up, or you catch up a week later and everybody else is a week ahead. And on a 7-8 week course, that's a significant amount. So a little bit stronger warning, but it's really, I promise you'll thank me for that warning later on as the course goes. All right, so just want to take you through how to understand the schedule. Okay, we're not going to go through individual items because it's too long. All right. But first of all, my recommendation with both the schedule and the course overview is that, like I said yesterday, you don't leap ahead. Okay. You will, I know you will, because I will be getting messages going, but I don't understand. And I will go, see, this is why I told you not to leap ahead. All right. So it's absolutely fine. I totally get it. I would have read the entire manual by now and all the schedule and freaked out, but never asked any questions because I would be too embarrassed. So I get it, right? But it will be quite confusing because you are on your 4th hour of a teacher training course that is 200 hours long. So you're not going to understand what we're expecting you to do in the 120th hour right now, okay? Think of it as like learning to drive a car, right? We're not expecting you to be able to reverse parallel park now. Okay, we just want you to get into the car and go, oh, look, this is the steering wheel and this is a gear stick. Okay, so think of it as really, we layer, this is the basic stuff and we're going to layer bit by bit. So to go to the schedule. All right, so if you look at the screen and you'll see this is the schedule. Every weekend is on in gray, blue and yellow right throughout the course. And this is the most important stuff. So you've already got the summary schedule, which is your topics over here. Can everybody see my little scrolly bit? These are the topics that you're going to be taught on a respective day. This may change. But if we feel you need more anatomy, more pose analysis work, or Laura needs you for more pose reviews, we will shuffle around, but the times remain fixed, okay? We may adapt if we see a need. Most of the time we don't have to, but just so you know, all right? As Laura says, everything, pretty much except one session, is recorded on YouTube, the YouTube channel. The session that isn't recorded is way at the end of the course, and it's called Ethics and Boundaries in Yoga. It's the only one that is not recorded because it's of quite a personal nature, and we don't want to put it all on YouTube, okay? So everything is recorded. We upload daily, so if you miss, you go and catch up, okay? Now, there are 3 columns next to the topics: reading, videos spelled incorrectly that I will correct, homework, I've just said videos, okay, reading videos and homework. So in this column, in the reading column, you'll see the documents that you need to refer to are the yoga manual and the course overview. The course overview is 50 odd pages long, and it is your summary guide to everything you need to know in order to pass this course, right? It gives you examples of each homework session. It's got all your questions in it. You'll see as we go along, it's quite an easy thing to understand. So everything in this column where it says read, forward bend class, wellness connections, course overview. So that means in the course overview, there will be your forward bend class that Laura has taught you, the Warrior 3 class, is written in your course overview, okay? Then next to it, it says watch, forward bend class, peak pose sequencing, okay? So this is just a reference that on the website, everything in this column, if it doesn't say Jenny Rowlings, is on our website. On the website, under peak pose sequencing, there'll be a little module. The forward bend class is recorded for you, all right? So you've got it written and you've got it there to watch. And the reason we want you to have access to that is, as Laura said, later on, you're going to do two things. One, you're going to do a teaching practical, and the other, you're going to do a sequence. And we need you to have reference to that. Your teaching prac is going to be one of the 3 courses that Laura teaches you. Don't worry about that yet. Taryn's going to come in and explain it all to you, okay? So all I need you to know right now is this is where you can find stuff, okay? Then it says here, you're going to go after, well, this was last night, but if we go down to pose demos, standing poses, it says YM standing poses. That's all the standing poses that Laura teaches you are in your yoga manual, okay? So it's all here as a reference, okay? Then we go a little bit further down and you will see here, it'll say anatomy takeaways, course overview. And I'm going to talk to you about the anatomy when I see you a little bit later this afternoon. It's just telling you where the information is. If we scroll right across to the 3rd column, this is your homework throughout the course, okay? When it says fill in yoga anatomy 1 questions, it will tell you in the videos column and the reading column where you find all the stuff that relates to that. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, I can't see hands because I'm sharing screen. So Laura, if you see like any questions, let me know. We'll talk about it afterwards. Thank you. Okay, so literally it says fill in yoga anatomy 1 questions. I'm going to chat to you about that later. The videos you will need to watch to fill in those questions are general yoga anatomy videos 1 to 2, plus all joint movements, and strength in yoga 1 to 3. Okay, the reading around that, okay, is the anatomy takeaways questions are in the course overview, yoga anatomy in the yoga manual, and anatomy work 1 course over, that's the same thing, okay? So I'll explain it the more detail. Each teacher will come on and explain the detail of the topics. I just need you to be able to read this schedule. So this weekend's no problem at all. Don't worry about it. But for next weekend, it's nice if you can prepare work. So if we look at Friday next week, teaching forward bend class, all right? Okay, forward bend class, that's in your yoga manual. Watch the forward bend class so you understand what it's about. You're preparing for the session before, if you can, all right? The same thing with Laura's pose demos. It says here, baby back bend, seated and supine, which means lying on your back poses, okay? Then it tells you, look, in the yoga manual, there's a section called seated poses and yoga manual back bends. So if you have time to go have a quick read through that, it's going to make your understanding a lot more accessible when Laura starts talking about it. All right. Okay. During the week, so the weekends are gray, blue, and yellow. And during the week, it says self-study and homework. Okay. And it tells you what you need to do during the week. So after this weekend, in the next week, you need to answer some philosophy questions. Again, I will talk to you about that tomorrow. All right. It's really easy stuff at this stage. It's nothing is tested on these things. Then you need to go and watch Jenny Rowling stuff. And it tells you here the course, which course to go and watch, and the philosophy videos, right? Then in your homework, it says anatomy work 1 questions to be sent to me by the 16th of Feb, and philosophy answers to be sent. So it's telling you what you need to do when, okay? Don't worry about the individual things, because I'm going to talk to you about the anatomy work question 1 later on, and I will talk to you about the philosophy stuff tomorrow, all right? As Laura said, all of these are guides for you to get where we want you to get. The anatomy work is a guide to get you to a certain understanding and to get you to understand the videos. The same with the philosophy questions, okay? They're not pass or fails. When they come to me, I will go, okay, I can see you don't really understand this element. Off you go, do it again, okay? So that is pretty much it for the schedule. And it does that week after week. These are all your homeworks on the side here. And it will tell you, so it's good to look a week or maybe a week in advance for now. And your teacher will always come on. So Taryn will come on and do here we go. So Wednesday, the 24th of February, for example, Taryn comes on and she's going to cover teaching skills with you. That week before Taryn comes on, you will have watched the teaching videos 1 to 3 on the web, and the videos are relatively short, depends, they're 20 minutes, 30 minutes each. You can watch them during the week, during your lunch hour, in the evening. You don't need to know anything off by heart from it. Taryn will then come in and say, okay, guys, this is what you need to do for your teaching practical, chat through any questions, and then you will go the following week, you'll see here, then you'll do your teaching practical. Okay, so that's pretty much how it works. Does anybody have any questions about the schedule other than freaking out? Amy?
Hello. I
Hello?
wanted to ask, with the homework, is it sent through via email or on the website, or how does the homework work to know that you've done it and you have sent it through?
I don't understand the question. Could you say it again? You cut out a little bit at the beginning.
Oh, sorry. So with the homework, for example, it says by the 16th of Feb. Do we send it via email, or is it like a survey kind of a thing we do, or how does it work?
Each one is completely separate. So you will see when we talk about anatomy, that the teacher will guide you. So the anatomy work 1 is questions, and you will email them to me. But the teaching practical is a video, and you will send it to Taryn. She will talk on the tech of how to send it. So each of them is slightly different depending on what the topic is, but you will be guided as to exactly how you need to send them in.
Okay.
Thank you. Cool. All right. Michaela, I can see your hand is up.
I wanted to ask, so in the videos, is all of the videos, unless they say Jenny, are all of those on YouTube, or are there some on the website as well?
All of the videos, other than the recorded videos, are all on the website. Okay, pretty much. There's a lot of videos there. Okay, so they're all on the website unless they say Jenny. Everything's on the Wellness Connection website.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else got any questions? I can only see a few of you, so you have to raise hands to do it. We all good? Okay. All right. Right. So now, very, very briefly, because I'd rather you go and take a break, I'm going to stop sharing because I have to find the course overview. Stop sharing. Go away. Okay. All right. Okay. So this is the course overview, which you received this morning. A lot of people very keen to get it. Okay. So now this is like a little Bible. Everything that's in the schedule that tells you to do stuff is in here, all right? So this is your course Bible. So you'll see just general stuff, admin you don't have to worry about, you all seem to be sorted out. And then there is your homework schedule typed out, one after the next, so you don't even have to scroll through your actual schedule, okay? Tells you everything there, just as a guide for you to go, okay, I need to get that into whom, by when, all right? Then underneath that, you've got simple stuff, all Laura's pose demos that she was talking about, they're all there for you to go, okay, this is what I need to know. Laura's going to go over the poses again and again and again and again and again. It will all be good at the end of it, all right? It's what she does. She's brilliant at it. And this is really just for your reference to go, okay, this is what I'm going to be exploring a bit. But as Laura said, it is completely according to your body, all right? So it is not, as I think Elaine was saying, you do not have to be able to do mermaid to pass this course, all right? What you do need to do is be able to demonstrate something slightly like mermaid, but you know, it doesn't have to be an actual mermaid, but it's more to get you to understand and to be able to go out there and demonstrate fairly effectively. So we always use a simple example of, you know, watching somebody in a forward bend. We don't really want you to go out and sort of slump over and do a forward bend or do a warrior two with your arms kind of like this, okay? We want you to be able to demonstrate really, so it looks kind of pretty-ish, okay? So that's what we're really looking for in this kind of thing. And then, of course, there's a lot of stuff here, and I'm not going to go through it all because I'm going to talk to you about anatomy takeaways later. Each teacher will go through every single section with you according to the schedule. So you can see pose demonstration is your first starter, and that's Laura, who will start talking to you about poses from the yoga mat. You've already done a few. I'm going to come in this afternoon and do some anatomy stuff with you, or not so much anatomy stuff, but actually just guide you a little bit to where you have to go with the anatomy. Then Taryn will come on next week and she will do some pose analysis work with you. But in this little manual, you'll see that anatomy takeaways, pose analysis takeaways, peak pose sequencing takeaways. The word takeaways means it's a summary of everything you kind of need to have reference from the videos on the website, because there's a lot of information there and it's quite tricky for some people to find what they actually need to have. That's the takeaway. Then all of the homework in terms of questioning stuff, the anatomy work 1 and 2 in your manual, and I'm not even going to go down to the teaching practical sequences because you're all going to freak out and cry. So I'm not going to go there just now. Okay. So it's going to be fine. Do not worry. All right. But all of the stuff is in this little book. Okay. So any questions about that? No? We all good? Okay. All right. So any question, Laura, have I missed anything out that I need to do?
I think that's everything. I just wanted to say for your pose reviews, you'll see on the schedule, when we meet in our smaller groups, so you'll be assigned groups to meet with and meet in, those you have to make. You can't catch up those sessions, all right? Because I need to see you in those time slots. So if for any reason you can't make a certain time, you need to let me know so I can slot you in for the next session, either earlier or later or the next day. So we can't catch those up at all. Those you have to be in, okay?
Okay, so I'll just show you where those are on the schedule again, so you know, and they really are crucially important. So you'll see each week for the next 2 weekends, you're just doing poses and classes with Laura, okay? There's no pose reviews, right? It's important that you're there. The poses are very important. But you'll see when we start to get the first pose on the 6th of March, you'll see in red, it says pose reviews, individual pose reviews, refer to email for your time slot, okay? You'll see that there's 3 slots over that weekend. You will be split into groups of 6. If you cannot make it, like Laura says, you need to let her know beforehand so she can slot you into one of those slots. If you miss it, it's a problem, okay? Then you need to speak to Laura. I mean, if you miss, or if you can't make all three, you need to speak to Laura and find another way around it. She may say, you know what, I've been watching your poses, they're actually fine, it's not a problem, we don't need to make it up. Otherwise, she'll say, yeah, we do need to make this up. Okay, but these are very important. We can't sort, you know, this is when Laura is going to be looking at you so closely in your tiny little groups to help you get to a certain point. So they are fairly important. Okay. All right. Okay, guys. I don't think I've got anything else to say. I'm going to talk to you about anatomy later. We all good? No questions? No? All good. Okay. All right. Don't freak out. That's the most important thing. Okay, we do this so much. Last year, okay, just to put it in perspective, we had 110 trainees last year, of which 108 became yoga teachers from all around the world, okay? 108 people. The 2 people that didn't, one just didn't bother to come to the course, so that was it, and the other one was ill, okay? So she's postponed, right? So that's it. So we get you through. What we need from you is for you to be here and for you to do the work. Time me asleep, because otherwise you're going to fall behind. All right. If you don't understand, we'll just get you to do it again. If you still don't understand, we'll get you to do it again. So, and line through. Okay. So that's it. But we need, you know, we can pull and help and advise and do all the bits and pieces, but we can't do it if you're not there, if you don't put in the work. It's really just as simple as that. And generally when we're live, that's the reason that people do not pass the course, is they don't put in the work. Simple as that. So please put in the work is what I've got to say. All right, so I think I can go, Laura, and then you can go, and they can all go. You guys can go and have a bit of a break before your pose demos.
Yeah.
And eat something. All right. Okay, guys, thank you. And I will see you later on this afternoon. Okay. All right. Bye.
Okay, everyone, I'll see you back at 12 o'clock and we'll be doing poses again. So you can have your mats so I can see you a little bit more today. Like Ruan's mat is like lengthways there that I can see you quite clearly, just so I can start checking in with your standing poses, because those are going to be really important. Okay. I will see you then at 12. And Catherine, will you make...
Sorry, Laura.
Yes, Miriam?
Do you want the mat lengthwise or widthwise?
Yes, please. Lengthwise, like Ruan's and like my mat, running lengthways across the screen, because it's easiest for me to see you in that kind of profile.
Okay.
If it's not perfect, don't stress too much. I'm going to see you even more when we meet in our small groups. But just for now that I can kind of check in, that I can have a little glance at where you're at so we can see. Okay. Any other questions?
No.
All happy? Okay, have something to eat, keep yourselves going. The next session is going to be quite a lot. So have a good break and be ready. I'll see you at 12.
Such an evil laugh.
Catherine, will you make me admin again?
Yes. Okay. Everybody else just pop up. That's good.
I love you. It's cute.
Okay, cool. I'm the host now.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
right.
So we'll be using the same link. So if you guys pop off, you just connect to the same link, or you can just turn your screens off, whatever you like. Okay. All right. Bye. Cool. forget. We're going to be doing some really important poses this afternoon. Okay, so these are your fundamental standing poses. And I'm going to be quite strict when we get to these poses when we start breaking it down in our smaller groups, because you'll be demonstrating these poses quite a lot to your students. Okay, because they're kind of the introductory standing poses, the fundamental poses of a yoga practice. Okay, I'm going to jump into the harder ones first because they are quite complex. There's a lot of detail involved in what's happening in all the joints of the body. So I'm going to start with high lunge and warrior one. And just to give you the page number, that is on page 46 in your yoga manual, if you would like to follow along there. I know I've skipped a few. I'm going to come back to those ones a little bit later on. But before you get too tired and hot and into the day, some of you got blankets on and it looks lovely and cool. We're going to focus on some of those more hectic ones. Okay. So in your manual, you can see your warrior one, Virabhadrasana one, meaning warrior one, and high lunge. Okay. And the biggest differences there is the back foot. And we already kind of touched on this. Elaine asked about it last night. We know now that when the back foot is grounded, that is warrior one, it's easier to balance, okay? And when you're on the ball of the back foot in high lunge, it's a bit harder to balance, okay, because you've got less foot on the ground. I think it's good to work your balance, so it's not necessarily a bad thing, because you're going to be balancing on one leg and balancing on your arms and doing all sorts of things. So the huge benefit of yoga is to work your balance, okay? We're going to compare the two differences now, okay? So I'm going to show you how to get into the pose, and also the reason why I've been getting you to stay with your hands and feet the same distance in your plank and then moving into downward dog, okay? Because when you step forwards, you'll notice your feet are in the correct stance. So when you link poses, you don't have to shuffle your feet longer or shorter or more narrow or more wide. It kind of links and flows more seamlessly, okay? And because we're teaching vinyasa and we're linking on stuff, it's really nice to have that. Okie dokie. Any questions before we jump in? Okay, dokie. So let me just make this a little bigger. Okie dokie. And I'm going to close that. So when we're coming from plank, okay, remember a good way to get into plank is from all fours. Your shoulders pretty much stay the same. So I've kind of got a neutral position across the back and the spine. I step back into plank and then push through the hands to move into downward dog. So remember, you guys might be feeling that this feels a little bit wider than normal. But notice now when I step forwards, okay, my knees stacked over my ankle and I have that foot placement already to come up to standing, okay? So that's why that plank, downward dog, stepping forward transition, get used to it. It's going to feel a little bit harder initially, but it's going to help that transition, okay? So let's look at the two differences here. When I'm in a warrior one, my back heel is down. And I want you to feel what is happening with your hips. What is the common cue, instruction you may have heard about your hips in warrior one? We hear it all the time. What have we heard?
Square off your hips.
Square your hips, right? So I'm going to say, you're going to feel it. When your back heel is fixed, your hips cannot square towards the front of the mat, okay? Don't take my word for it, you're going to feel it in a second, okay? And when we try and square the hips, we get a little bit of stuff going down the lower part of the leg, the knee, the ankle, the hip. So we're going to touch on that point. The difference here with high lunge, I'm on the ball of my back foot now, I can easily square my hips to the front of the mat, and there's less rotation going on in my knee and back leg. Okay. What we're looking for both of these poses, you'll feel that difference in a sec, is to keep knees stacked over ankle and try and bring the thighs parallel to the floor as possible. So we've almost got a sharp 90-degree angle with the front leg, back leg as straight as possible, and then we're reaching up through those arms. In both versions of Warrior One, back heel down, and high lunge. Okay. Remember in the class this morning, I got you to put your hands into your ribs and feel that lifting and reaching up through the sides of your body, okay? You're going to feel the same thing here in these two poses. This pose, high lunge and Warrior One, is a little bit of a back bend, okay? So because it's a back bend, because your back leg is behind you, your spine is going to be in extension, you don't want to sink into your lower back, okay? So we don't want to be dumping into the back. We want to try and feel that lift and rising up and grounding down through the hips. And of course, if we're teaching back bends, we can embrace that little lift in the chest as well. Okay. So points to note, stepping from plank, downward dog, step forwards. Feel with that step how that gets you into the correct stance, firstly. Okay. What's always quite nice is to start from your feet and work your way up. So we'll feel Warrior One, back heel down, and on the ball of the foot, high lunge. And I want you to feel what's going on in your hips. Let's start with that. Okay, so come from plank. And then slowly push into downward dog. The more you emphasize that nice, slow push from plank to downward dog, you'll start to feel your arms really working in that transition, and a nice way to build up that kind of fundamental strength. Okay. Now, we're going to sweep the right leg up through a three-legged dog if you like. And remember my tip, move your right hand out of the way when you step forwards. So your right hand can almost lift off the floor and make space for your right foot to step. Now, before you even come up, can you feel now, if you look down, your knee should stack over your ankle joint? Front knee, that's it. Because you've come from that wide distance, that all happens in one step, and you don't have to shuffle your feet forwards and back. Can you feel the difference? Okay. Stay on the ball of your back foot. Let's do high lunge first. Keep your legs where they are. Just reach your arms up. Good. Now, can you keep your knees stacked over your ankle and your thigh as parallel to the floor as possible? Put your hands into your hips. Notice how your hips can easily square towards the front of your mat, right? Good. Amy, try not to sink too low into those hips. Lift your hips up a little bit. There you are. There's your 90-degree. Find your strength there. Good. Now, ground your back heel. Just ground the back heel if it's going to turn out slightly. What happened to your hips as you did that? They opened out a bit, yeah? Because this is how our bodies work. If you fix the back heel, your hips are going to open out to the side a little bit. Okay. Now, with your back heel down, you're in Warrior One. Just feel the wrong way now. Try and square your hips. How does your back knee feel when you do that? Yeah, it feels like it's kind of rotating and talking a bit, hey? Your back arch might drop. It might feel a bit uncomfortable in your hips. So it's totally fine to do Warrior One, but we don't give the instruction, square your hips. Allow your hips just to be natural, just to where they are. Your shoulders can turn to face the front of the mat. And now reach both arms up. Okay, your hips are just in a natural position, a little bit open. Can you feel that? Okay. Then turn back into a high lunge on the ball of your back foot. And notice now, I feel like I prefer high lunge. You can have it all. Your hips are facing forwards. You've got that lovely reach up through your arms. And back legs, see if you can straighten your back legs so it's nice, strong, straight, and active. Okay, thighs are dying. Let's release back to downward dog. We'll feel that on the other side. Good. All right, when you're ready, left leg sweeps up. Move your left hand out of the way to take a big step forwards between your hands. Your left foot is coming almost towards your left inner hand, right? Good. And then on the ball of the back foot, rise up into high lunge. Your knees are already stacked over your ankle. You've already got the correct stance because you've come from plank, downward dog, and stepped forwards. And that's why that formula works quite well. Good. And then here, let's stay in high lunge for now. Place your hands on your ribs, like we did in the class this morning. Lift your ribs up. So almost feel like you're lifting up through the sides of the body. Keep that lift as you reach up through your arms. Really reach up through your arms like we spoke about last night. Your shoulders may lift a little bit towards your ears, but relax your neck. Good. Now lift your chest for a little baby back bend here. Good, and that's what we want going in the upper body. Can you feel that? Strong, straight, active arms. Lunge deep in that front leg. Try and keep your knees stacked over your ankle. Good, and if you wanted to do warrior one, you would ground your back heel down, and we know the hips are allowed to open, and that is also fine. Okay, let's release, come down, take a little breather, and come and have a chat with me and tell me how that felt. So firstly, can you feel the difference of what's happening in your hips in warrior one?
Yeah.
Can you feel when you try and force your hips to face the front, how it can hurt your knee?
I had more pain in my hip when I
In
tried
your
to.
hip? Yes.
Yeah.
So
But my hips
Michaela,
are
you have
stuck.
SI joint issues as I was reading in your forms. So
Yeah,
doing
and very
silly
formal
things
syndrome.
like this, for me as well from my dance background, SI joint discomfort all the time. Doing silly things like trying to square your hips in poses where it's just unnatural like this. You can feel it's just an unnatural thing. Why are we forcing the joints to do something where it's actually, for what reason? Is there any benefit to squaring your hips? No. So absolutely, you will feel it in your hips, and you're going to feel very different about the next few poses I'm going to do about the hips as well. And your SI joints are going to thank you a lot for it.
Okay. Thanks.
Clara.
It's just when you're in the, well, let's see if I have.
Okay.
So when you're doing the high lunge,
Yes.
and you flip your foot out,
Yes.
if
Yeah.
your heel is supposed to go all the way down, or if you have a little slip, are you then too wide apart, or are you just not flexible enough in your angle?
So there's so much with this because, and it's a really great question, Clara, and Warrior One is complicated this way. It's quite finicky because of that back foot. So I totally get where you're coming from. So we're standing like this, you step forwards. It's basically like Tadasana feet, and you've got one foot back behind you in a high lunge, right? When you swivel that heel down, it is ankle flexibility to get that foot, that heel onto the mat. What makes it easier is to take that foot a little bit wider. Okay, so it's more like your feet are hip distance apart, and then you've swiveled it down. Okay, so again, a little bit finicky, but again, feel what feels good for your body, your ankles, your stance. And one more thing you can do, if high lunge, you're super wide, you can step your feet in a bit closer. So your stance may not be as wide as I kind of got you into there. You may shorten your stance, and that would also put your back heel on the floor. So when it comes to Warrior One, I want you to explore what feels best for your back foot. If you need to have it a little bit wider, or if you need to step in a little bit closer. And this is why I feel it's actually quite a hard pose to add transitions to. If I go from high lunge to warrior two to triangle pose, it all flows quite easily. But if I'm having to do warrior one and take my foot out a little bit, or maybe step in a little bit, it's quite hard to now, what's the next pose? I'm going to have to move my feet, which is fine. But when we're trying to link these things in seamlessly, it's a bit of an awkward pose. And the only reason why I may teach it is it might be easier for people where their balance is a little bit off. And maybe if I'm just doing warrior one and then stepping back out of the pose, totally cool. But just so that we're aware, high lunge might serve you better as a pose where you can have both hips facing forwards, where you can get into that back bend without any kind of rotation in the hips, and you kind of avoid that whole back foot drama. Would you agree, Clara?
Yeah, no, I just have another question.
Go for it.
So when we put our feet down and out, or the heel in, depending on where we feel comfortable. So your phrase was like, it's okay not to have like a rotation in your hip, but that it goes outwards a bit.
Yes.
And then your upper body facing forward.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Because I've always tried to square it off and it feels like it's not possible.
And it is not possible. So anatomically, and this is why you're going to learn about anatomy and why we think it's so important. If you want to teach yoga, you want to teach bodies, you need to understand anatomy and kind of the movement science behind why are we doing these things? Why are we instructing squaring the hips when we know now that it's not anatomically possible? And it can actually be causing issues. It can cause your back knee to feel sore. Michaela feels her hip is sore. So we're going to push ourselves into these positions for no benefit whatsoever. Okay, so these are one of those poses where we're debunking squaring the hips in warrior one. In warrior one, just allow your hips to be natural. You'll see in the manual, Catherine refers it to like warrior 1.5. It's not quite warrior 2. You're not facing the side, but your hips aren't facing the front. So it's almost like a little halfway mark. Okay. And this is why you'll notice in the sequences I do with you, I just always teach high lunge, and then I just never have to tackle any of that drama. But it's completely up to you at the end of the day. If you understand these things, then you can teach anything you want to. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And I really recommend after this, because it's going to be a little bit of an information overload, just go through these poses again, because instinctually you're going to, every time you go into warrior one, you're going to try and square your hips. And you need to almost break the habit now and embrace the new information and allow it to integrate through your body. And then you'll actually feel, oh, this actually feels so much easier. It makes sense. Okay, and if it doesn't make sense, let me know and let's have a look and see what's going on in your body, because we're all so different. Okay. All right, and then we felt what was going on with the torso there. We were lifting up and out of the waist, reaching up through the arms, and can you feel this? These two poses are back bends, little back bends. Yes, and that is why we use them today in the back bend sequence to warm up for back bends as well. Not only is it giving a nice stretch for the back thigh and hip flexor, but it's giving us that feeling of reaching up and out as we lengthen up for back bends. Okay. Anything else you would like to add? Anything else you're feeling? Okay, we do that pose quite a lot. Okay, Michaela, you good there? All right. What I wanted to note is Amy. So Amy comes from her gymnastics background. When she comes into this pose, she almost goes lower than she needs to be in her hips. Okay. So we're working with all sorts of bodies. If you're a stiffer body, you tend not to go too far. When we are working with very flexible bodies, they tend to go more than what you need to. So Amy, your mantra, and there might be a few other people here, your mantra for this course is to find your strength in the pose, okay? Instead of always working to your maximum end range, okay, I want you to pull yourself into yourself and feel your strength into your joints, into your hips, and I almost want you to shake because you're working so hard in every pose, instead of finding that maximum end of flexibility. Okay, because from gymnastics and from dance backgrounds, which I know a lot of you have here, you're always pushing to that end mark, right? Let's make it more about strength and how strong you can be in the pose rather than how far you can go in the pose. And you're going to feel how your strength is just going to increase and you don't injure, because I know you've had injuries before because of these things. So that's going to be your mantra for me, okay? Alrighty.
Quite an adjustment, because when the minute I always go into those, it's always prepping for like splits or something. So when you said I must lift, then I immediately felt like in my thighs especially, like how much more how much more strength I need in it, and in my glute as well.
Yeah.
So I can definitely see that I need to start practicing that.
Yes, excellent. And you're going to get so strong, and it's so much better for your body as well. And when you go out and teach, we also want you to look strong in your poses rather than super flexy in splits. Okay. All right. If you guys are happy with that, I'm going to move on. Okay. And while we're still fresh, I'm going to jump into Warrior 2. I'm doing it in my own order. Sorry, it normally kills my OCD to do it out of sync. But because there's so much information in these poses, I just want to tackle those intense ones. Page 49 is your Warrior 2. Okay. Because here again, with these poses, and you're going to see Warrior 2, triangle pose, and side angle pose are all quite similar in the feet positions, in the foot placement, right? And that's why possibly the classes you've been going to, they link really nicely together because you don't have to move your feet. Okay. Again here, what have we heard about the hips in Warrior 2, triangle, side angle? What have we heard of what we should do with our hips? Square them again, hey? So I'm going to plant a little seed here that we want to find what's natural for our hips in these poses. And especially if you've been doing yoga a long time, it's really hard to break out of this habit. Okay, so I'm going to just go slowly with it so you can understand the natural hip position is what I'm going to refer to it as. Okay, so I'm going to show you quickly, and then you're going to get up and feel before we even jump into it, because it's quite a different one to feel. Okay, so again, I'm going to come from plank, downward dog, because when I step forward, I open up and I can get into the correct stance. Okay, let me just tilt this down a little bit. So that's going to be your go-to entry for all your standing poses. Okay, I'm going to show you with straight legs. If I just stand, okay, like I'm going into triangle, my front foot is turned out 90 degrees, so my foot is facing to the front of the mat. My back foot is either parallel to the back edge of the mat, or you can turn it in slightly, okay? When we look at this from the side, my heel of the front foot is in line with the arch of my back foot. So heel of the front foot, if I had a straight line, runs across to the inner arch of the back foot. Can you see that clearly? Is that all right? Yeah? So when I step forward, I ground my back heel, and generally you will have that foot placement just from that transition. But we're all different. You may have to do a little bit of a shuffle. For me, pretty much lines up heel to arch of back foot, front foot out 90 degrees, back foot turned in slightly, right? Does that make sense with the foot position? Any questions on that point before we go further?
No.
Okay, pretty much we've heard that in classes. You may have heard heel to heel That's a very Ashtanga thing to do. And always, if that feels good for you, that's good for you, okay? But for most of the time, especially for balance as well, front heel is in line with the arch of the back foot, okay? You can feel that out. Now let's get to the hips. So because of this foot placement that I brought my body into, if I just relax, okay, just be a normal person, my back hip rolls forward slightly. Kind of like in Warrior One, how my hips were a little bit open to the side. It's the same here. My hips will drop into a natural position, and they are pointing to the side, slightly on a diagonal. I can force my hips to square towards you, but again now, I'm feeling my knee is being torqued because my foot is fixed, okay? And it's going to even have more of a knock-on effect. So in Warrior Two, I want this side to push out, right? The purpose of the pose in Warrior Two is this external rotation. If I try and square my hips, what has happened to my knee? It's rolled forwards, okay? I know this is hard because we've heard this so often. Square your hips, and we've all worked really hard to try and square our hips in our yoga classes, right? And now I'm saying, don't worry about it. It's going to take some serious getting used to. It's one of the hardest things. You're going to feel it, and that's what's going to be the deciding vote. Okay, I'm going to show you one more thing. So we saw what happened in the front knee. When we square our hips, it rotates inwards. So we lose the external rotation of this front leg. And with these poses, if we're doing peak pose sequencing, I would be using these poses as preps for this rotation of the front thigh. Okay, don't need to worry about that now. In triangle pose, if I square my hips, okay, and I try and bend to the side, I'm unable to move from my hips. Can you see I'm just kind of doing a little side bend, and it might not be the most attractive triangle pose. And then your teacher say hand to the floor, and there's no way you can get down there because you haven't allowed your hips to move with you, okay? If I just relax and don't think about it, if you'd never told me to square my hips, I never would. My hips are slightly forwards on a diagonal. This back hip has rolled forwards. And now when I enter my triangle, I can fold from my hip. Can you see? My torso is actually staying beautifully lengthened on the way down, and I've got all this range to come to the floor. And then I can find my triangle pose and be more lengthened through the spine and the waist. Completely different experience of the pose. And it's just because you've changed one instruction about what's happening in the hips. Okay, so you have to feel it. You have to feel it for it to make sense. Let's go plank into downward dog to enter. I know this is going to be a hard one. That's okay. And argue with me if you want, but feel it first. Okay. Step your right foot forwards, or whichever foot you want so that you can face towards me if you like, any foot you want. And then come up into a high lunge, so we can vinyasa there. And then ground your back heel and open out to the side into a Warrior Two. Okay. And because we don't want to tie our thighs, let's just straighten the front leg so we're not too tight. Is your front foot turned out 90 degrees? And your back foot turned in slightly, either parallel to the back edge of your mat or turned in a little bit. Back heel is down there, Annalise. And you've turned yourself towards your wall. Okay. Your heel, your front heel, is in line with the back arch of your foot. Yes? Okay, and that's our standard position. Straighten your legs so your thighs don't get tired. And now just relax. Because you've placed your feet in this position, just chill. What have your hips naturally have done now? Without thinking about it, what have your hips kind of done? Put your hands on your hips if you want to kind of feel it and see it. Can you see what I mean? How they're just kind of in this natural, slightly diagonal position. Okay, so that's what naturally happens when you place your feet in this yogi stance. Okay, now square your hips towards the side. Feel what happened in your front leg and your front knee. Do it with the leg straight. Ow! Can you feel how you have lost the external rotation of your front thigh? You may feel a bit of discomfort in your front knee. Yes, and then bend your front knee into a warrior two leg, just very brief, we're just exploring it. With your hips natural, you can really push your right thigh out or your front thigh out. Yes, and you can feel that opening in the hip. That's the purpose of the pose. Now square your hips in warrior two, turn your hips to the side. What happens to your front knee?
Oh.
It rolls in, doesn't it? Okay, and there's no benefit to having your hips facing the side. There's no reason, there's no benefit, there's no purpose. It's just a cue that's been given too many times. Okay, wait, haven't completely convinced you yet. Just wait. Straighten your front leg again. We're gonna try triangle, okay, but turn your hips to the side, square your hips. Okay, now be strict. Keep your hips squared to the side. And now arms out to the sides. And try and bend towards your front leg. You can feel here, you're not bending from your hips, right? You're just doing it from your spine. Can you touch the floor? Not really. No. Okay. Now relax. Just let go. Just chill. Let your hips just drop to where they naturally go. Okay. And now with your arms out to the sides. Let your hips be totally natural. So your back hip has come quite a bit forwards. And now try and bend to the side. How far can you go? Folding from your hip. Shanad, try and drop your back hip forwards a little bit more. Turn your back foot in. Yeah, there you are. You've got it, you've got it, you've got it. Now exaggerate this point. Let your back hip really roll forwards. Annalise?
I'm a bit lost. I don't know where I should
So
be.
face me, Annalise. Just swap your legs. Okay. Take your legs nice and wide. Turn your front foot out 90 degrees. Or let's go right foot, back foot in a little bit. Okay, can you see your hips are just in a natural position? So you guys can come up and watch if you'd like to see this. We're going to just spotlight Annalise. Just so it's nice to see it on a different body. She has cool pants. Mine are too dark. And now turn your hips to face towards me, Annalise. So put your hands on your hips, but keep your right foot turned out. Okay, and now turn your hips to me. Okay, so you can already feel your knee might feel a little bit like twisty there. Bring your arms out to the side and then try and bend into triangle pose, but keep your hips pointing to me. So you can feel you can't go down very far because that back hip is open, right? Now, Annalise, put your hands on your hips and just kind of slouch, just chill. Let your left back hip turn a little bit towards your front foot, even more. Yeah, like that, okay? Now bring your arms out to the sides. Can you see how our hips are a little bit more on a diagonal now? Now, Annalise, now come forwards into triangle pose. Your chest is facing me. Wow. Can you see how much further you can go? Okay. And it's because we've allowed that back hip to roll down towards the floor. Okay. And then we're not trying to square the hips. We're allowing that hip to drop forwards. Can you feel the difference?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And then you can come back up. All right. So that was quite complicated. Let me know if that makes sense. Have a seat. We're just kind of starting that now. Could you feel the difference? Did it feel better for you? Did it feel worse?
Felt better. You know, in a lot of classes, as you go into here for triangle, they always say forward to then push.
Yeah.
And then go.
Yeah. I think
that
that's totally
to like
fine.
move your hip properly?
Yeah, I think that's totally cool. We'll talk more about triangle in so much detail. I don't mind letting your hips stick out to the side and then reaching. I think that's totally cool. It's just about allowing that back hip to come forwards. It's about not squaring your hips. Because when we have our hips to the side, you can feel, you can't bend from your hips. You're in this like awkward triangle where when you allow that back hip just to move with you, so your hips are on a diagonal, you have so much more range of movement. It's how your body's natural bone structure works. We're not fighting against your natural anatomy. We're going with the way your body is built, now having that understanding. And then we'll also feel a lot less discomfort for you, Michaela, huge, big time in your SI joints, because you're literally fighting with your SI joint to open up that top hip. Yeah. And it's brutal, I know, because I could never walk out of yoga classes and I couldn't understand why I was so sore until I started doing this. And I've been Iyengar trained. So have any of you done Iyengar yoga?
I have. It's so hard.
it's
the ballet of yoga.
It's old school. They work with a lot of props. It's really mean. They really force you into poses. It's it's brutal. And I would always fight to have that hip open for many years. And once I found natural hip position, I was very against changing this whole thing because this is how I had been taught. And as soon as I allowed my hips to be natural and just embrace the change, which I was very resistant about, so I get it. I get how you guys are feeling in this moment. I stopped having SI joint problems and they just went away. And I could do yoga, and then after Shavasana, I could walk, and that was pretty cool. So it'll have a huge change. And also in your knee, you could feel how that front knee is being impacted with the hips. Amy.
I wanted to ask with my back foot. So if my back foot's parallel to the back of the mat, I get a bit of strain like over here.
Yes.
So like I feel a bit. Is it supposed to feel like that, or is it because I'm putting too much pressure?
You know what? It can feel like that initially, especially in the beginning. Especially if you're used to being turned out and now you're working parallel, that can also be a huge change in just how your body has been trained. If you feel like it's too much, Amy, you can let that foot soften so it's maybe not so strictly parallel, but you'll find it's one of those things that'll probably change over time and just go away. Because I know it's kind of like a horrible stretch on your outer ankle, and you may feel it in the wide-legged forward fold as well, when both feet are parallel and you're folding forwards. So just back out of it a little bit and feel where it feels more comfortable for you. Yeah, and just adjust and play with it where you can feel a comfortable stance for now, but I'm sure it will be something that may just shift over time. We do crazy stuff with our ankles in yoga. And it can feel a little bit strange. Okay, keep me posted on that, Amy, and see if you can find what feels better. Okay.
Laura?
Yes. Dee.
Hi. Yes. Sorry, I've been here for a little while, but I didn't realize my volume was off, and I've been going, Laura.
I can hear you.
So, I only came in at 12 because I was on a course this morning. But so forgive me if this question's already been asked, but the down dog with the legs very wide out. If I can just go back there if you don't mind. With the extended down dog.
Yes.
I mean, that is very, very, very difficult for me to do because I'm used to being much tighter in. But it is so much easier to bring my foot forward into a lunge from there than it is from tight. But if you were doing a normal down dog, like if you weren't doing a down dog with preparation to go into one of the warriors, if you were just doing a down dog, would you also put your feet that far from your hands? Should that now be a default position?
So it's a great question, Dee, because like any pose, there's many ways of doing the pose. Having you in this wider stance, so the same distance as plank and downward dog, is actually harder on your arms. You actually are going to load your arms a lot more, and those are having to work harder. So if you guys are experiencing that, that's normal. I like it because, as you say, Dee, it works so much better when you step forwards. So once you feel stronger there, it'll feel like your new normal downward dog. But that's not to say if you shortened your downward dog, that's wrong. It's also totally fine. If a shorter downward dog is better for you, Perfect. But we just got to be aware it may not link into other postures as seamlessly.
I think it's just, as you said, just an unlearning kind of thing.
Totally.
And then I just wanted to say that Trikonasana, without pushing the hips to square, I've never been able to get my hand to the ground. Never. I've always needed a prop.
Look at you, G.
It's okay.
Yay, that's
Cool.
awesome. So you can go so much further and you can get into your Trikonasana. What we want from a Trikonasana is to feel that stretch in your leg, your inner thigh and your hamstring. And if you're stuck up here, you're not even getting into your legs. So that's awesome, Dee.
Looking forward to these changes. They're great.
It's very exciting. It's very exciting. And remember, there's many ways to do the same pose. You can also, if you want a side stretch in your Trikonasana, then do it with your hips open. You know, if you want a shorter downward dog because you want the heels to be on the floor and for the arms to work less hard, then we do it that way. So all these things, it depends on, my mantra is, depends on what you're doing it for and who you're doing it with. If I'm teaching beginners and this serves them better, I'll teach the pose this way. If I'm doing a peak pose where this is going to work better on this, then I'll do it that way. So all of this is variable. I'm going to help you to find what is going to help you get your best pose, but know that there's wiggle room. Okay, so I haven't actually even touched on those poses. So Clara asked me if we're doing it on the other side. Now we start. Okay, I just wanted you to feel the hip thing there. So now when we go into these poses, I want you to implement your feet, your foot stance, okay, your wider distance. You might also feel wider now because of your plank down dog is wider. These poses are going to feel wider as well. And they also get you closer to the floor. And most of all, natural hips. Okay. All righty. So now let's really start on Warrior 2. Okay. So now we know what we're doing with our hips. I'm going to show you Warrior 2. So from plank, downward facing dog, I'm stepping forwards. Okay. Round my back heel. We know what we're doing with our feet. And I've allowed my hips to be in a natural position. I'm bending my front knee again to stack knee over ankle, thigh parallel to the floor. It just makes the pose look punchy, all right? It is a bit of an aesthetic thing. We're trying to just keep that knee stacked over the ankle for that nice, beautiful line, okay? Because my hips are in a natural position, my emphasis is to push this thigh out. So I'm externally rotating the hip. I don't want this knee rolling forwards. I want to push it back in line with the hip socket. That's what we're looking for in the hips. Okay. Then from here, this is what we often see in Warrior 2, leaning forwards. Okay. You actually need to lean your torso back. So when you're in a Warrior 2, you actually need to look down and lean your shoulders back to stack shoulders above the hips. Okay, arms parallel out to the side. Make sure your right back arm isn't veering off doing anything funky. And shoulders are stacked. Again, feel that lengthening through your waist as you reach out through your arms, lunge deep, and push that thigh out. Okay, so let's think of those major points in our Warrior 2 and do it together from plank, downward facing dog. Before we go, Amy's raised her hand. Amy?
I just wanted to ask, with your chest, so this area, should it tilt also slightly forwards or should it be looking
now you can
like...
square your shoulders to the side. Shoulders facing towards the side. So we're rotating in the spine, which is very mobile to rotate, to turn your shoulders to face the side, but your hips are in a natural position. When you're ready, plank into downward facing dog. Good. Ari, I need you to bend your knees a little bit in your downward dog and I lift your bum up higher to the ceiling. Yes, can you feel that? So your knees are going to be a little bit bent, and now push more through your hands and lift your tailbone up even higher. Yes, Ari, now your spine is more lengthened. Can you feel the difference? Cool. Step your right foot forwards like Cindy is doing. Fantastic bent knees there, Cindy. Love that downward dog. Good job. And then turn to the side and come up into warrior two. You can also come from a high lunge and open it out. Good. Okay, in your warrior two, front foot is turned out, back foot is turned in slightly. Okay. Bend your right knee so your knee is stacked over your ankle. Good. Keep those legs nice and wide. Your hips are in a natural position, so push that front thigh out to really open up from the hip. Yes. Now lengthen through your waist. Look down. Are your shoulders stacked above your hips? And your arms parallel on either side. Finally, look over your front hand. Your drishti settles over your middle finger of your front hand, and that is your warrior two. Matt, you can lunge a little bit deeper. Thank you. Belinda, you can lean back a little bit more towards your back leg. Yes. Nice, Miriam, check your back arm. Oh, she fixed it just when I said her name. I like it. Alice, you can lunge a little bit deeper if that feels okay for you. Oh, there it is. Nice, everyone. Windmill your arms back into downward dog. Good job. Let's feel that on the other side. Left foot steps forwards, turning to the side to open out into your warrior two. Good. Now tick all the boxes. Look at the feet. Michaela, can you be a bit wider in your feet? Wider, wider, wider. Thank you. Check your knee. Is it stacked over the front thigh? Nice stance. Good. Press that front thigh out. Now check your shoulders. Are they stacked over your hips? Elaine, you can lean back slightly towards your back leg. Good. Now check your arms are parallel. Gaze over the front hand. Amy, you can lunge a little bit deeper. There you are. Perfect. Chest is lifted, waist is long. Cindy, can you have your feet just a little bit wider? And then Cindy, lean your shoulders back slightly to stack over your hips. Yes, that's better. Now check your arms, your back arms dropped. Yes, Matt, much better stance. Nice, Belinda, nice corrections, everyone. Release back to down dog. And release, take a little child's pose. Think about the changes you felt in your body. Feeling the wider stance, the natural hips, and the shoulders being stacked over the hips. Make any notes if you would like, so that you can remember anything that you need to when you practice this pose again. And then let me know if you have any questions. That looked really good. Some really strong, punchy poses there. I like it. Clara?
I kind of like your description of like your upper body going up, because it feels like when you squeeze your buttocks, it's like naturally your hip opens up.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's quite, you also got to think about how we're going to translate this information to our students. So if we say squeeze your bum, what's that going to do? Where we can give them something really tangible to connect with anybody from maybe not a movement background. Lift your chest, lengthen upwards. Is an easier way to get the message across and what you're looking for with the pose. Yeah.
To say the moving from your rib upwards have really felt like it's lightened a lot of weight that I've had in my hip area going onto my thighs, and I've always kind of tried to work with energy from the front and going down at the back, but that has made such a big difference. So thank you so much for that.
Excellent, Belinda. That's so awesome. I'm so glad. And you know, it looks so amazing when you guys do that as well. And you feel that lift. It like opens you up and makes you look broad and expansive. And this is also why we've got to be careful of saying cues like tuck tailbone tends to bring you down, or engage your abdominal muscles brings you down. There's a time and a place for certain instructions. And in most of these standing poses, it's about lifting up and lengthening. So I'm so glad you're feeling that. Well done. For me, it has a huge impact. Awesome. Okay, you guys feeling all right? Okay, cool. Looking good, I must say. Looking really good. Again, I'm doing it in my own order. If you flip one page forwards, you'll see side angle pose, Utthita Parsvakonasana. I will give you the page in a second. Whoops, I skipped way too far forwards. It is on page 52. It's kind of, you've got your warrior 2 legs with your arm over in that side bend. Okay. I like just to do these together because it's the same legs. We just got different arms going on. Okay. Utthita means extended. Parsva means side. Kona means angle, pose. Okay. Asana means pose. So it's extended side angle pose, right? We often just call it side angle pose. Easy, message translates. That's the main purpose of getting our students into classes, is letting them know what we're actually teaching them and not just giving them words they're not sure of. So the legs are exactly the same as warrior 2, okay? But the arms are a little bit different. So I will show you quickly and then you can give it a bash and then we'll see how that goes. So again, I'm going to come from plank into downward facing dog because we know it just works. It's the formula. I've got my warrior 2 stance and I forgot to tilt my camera down. Okay. So there's 2 ways. My legs on warrior 2. I can either modified version, elbow on the thigh. Okay. This is really nice, especially if your inner thighs aren't super loose, to put your hand on the floor. This is a really nice supportive way to do the pose. When your elbow is here, make sure you don't sink into it though. So that's a very common thing you have to watch out for yourself and also your students. You want to push that elbow down into your thigh. And then this top arm, everyone always laughs because they know when they're being taught by me because I'm so sticky about certain things. When you sweep this arm in front of your face and then in line with your ear, it's easier to get your shoulder into this position, okay? Especially if your shoulders are a little bit tight. If you go from open and then rotate your hand and then take it over, for some people, it can feel less an ease of movement, okay? You try, do it best in your body, but generally if you sweep down and then overhead, it gets this arm into this beautiful side and can you see that diagonal? That's what we're looking for in this pose. So we don't want the hips too low, flexy ones. We don't want the bum sticking out in the air. We want to get this nice side angle line, okay? You can also do the pose with your fingertips on the ground. I always say fingers instead of a flat hand, okay? Look at the difference. If I'm on my fingertips, it helps me to keep my chest more lifted. When I drop my hand, the chest tends to drop as well. Feel the difference. If you have super long arms, it might not make a difference. But for most of us, being on the fingertips will help you be a little bit more upright, which will help you turn your chest more to the side, okay? And what's really awesome, my block is just under my laptop, okay, is props. Okay, so we can always bring in props. They are awesome for a practice. And especially for poses like this, to bring the floor a little bit closer, you can use a block for your hand. Okay, and that block can be at its highest, its middle height, or its lowest height. and it's really fun to incorporate props into your classes as well. Okay, do you want to give it a go? Let's go. Plank into downward dog. Yes, use that nice strong push from plank into downward dog. So you're really building up your arm strength. Okay, step 1 foot forwards. Turn to the side, open out warrior 2. So you know what to feel in your warrior 2 now. Legs are wide. Push that front thigh out. Hips are natural. Yes, Annalise, that's it. Bend your front knee a little bit more, Annalise. Yes, now lean your shoulders back to stack your shoulders over your hips. Oh, there it is. Perfect. Now into your side angle pose. Bring your elbow onto your thigh. But don't sink into that arm. Push your elbow into your thigh so your bottom shoulder is moving away from your ear. Your top hand, let's try both. Reach it up to the ceiling and then take it over in line with your ear. It might feel a little bit sticky. Okay, try my way. Sweep your hand down to the floor in front of your face and then over in line with your ear. It may or may not feel better for you. Okay. Marley, take your legs a little bit wider apart. And Clara, I think you're actually a little bit too wide because you've lost your knee stacking over your ankle. I like the wide. Now you can try with your hand on a block or fingertips to the floor if you wish. Nice pose there, Miriam, beautiful. And then you may want to re-sweep your top arm over in line with your ear. And Ron, you can take that arm over a little bit more in line with your ear. Yes, that's it. Now twist your chest towards the side. D, sweep your top hand over in front of your face and then in line with your ear. Yes, just like that. Twist your chest open. Good. Now see, look in your little camera if you can see yourself. We're looking for that beautiful side angle line. See if you can get it. Yes, Matt. Nice pose. Nice, Ari. Nice pose. Awesome. And then you can come up because your legs are probably complaining. Nice pose there, Nicole. And windmill back into downward facing dog. Feel that on the other side. Okay, left foot is sweeping forwards. You can come from a high lunge or just open straight up into warrior 2. Find your warrior 2 stance first. Ari, you can be a little wider in your feet. Good. Michaela, a little wider again. I know. Just that little bit makes all the difference. Okay. Into side angle, elbow onto the thigh. Cindy, feet a little bit wider. I know, it takes some getting used to. Nice pose there, Alice. Beautiful. Alice, you can bring your arm over a little bit closer to your ear though, so then we can get that side line. Yes. Gorgeous. And then let's go fingertips to the ground or onto a block, full version. Miriam, bring your hips down a little deeper. There it is. Good. And then Clara, stack your front knee over your ankle. So bend that left knee and bring your left hand in line with your left ankle. There, that's it. Can you feel that? Now arm over in line with the ear a little bit more and sink your hips down a little bit more, Clara. There, that's your line. Can you feel the difference? Twist your chest open, twist, 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 open chest. And then come up. Nice poses, everyone. And release back to down dog. Well done. Take a little break in child's pose. Think about the movements, the shapes that you've just felt. Let that just integrate. You felt the feet were wider. You felt that arm sweeping over in line with your ear. And the different arm versions there. Okay. And then come up and let me know if you have any questions. Quads are nice and warmed up now. Nice bit of leg work. Run.
Hi. I saw myself on the screen there when I was going over. Like it looked like my arm wasn't going straight. I was always almost going like over like this.
Yes.
Is that okay? Is it wrong? Is it too far?
So exactly. So it's quite hard because either we don't go enough or we go too much. So you need to explore it in your body to feel where you can get that nice diagonal line. One thing there to also straight elbow as opposed to a bent elbow. And then also not dropping down, especially when your hand is on the floor. Not dropping too low in the chest, but still having that sense, we've all kind of felt that feeling of lengthening in the ribs. That lengthening in the ribs also helps you to get that nice extension of not being too dropped.
Yeah, I was struggling with the twist as well. That's why I was struggling to get my arm up there. It's quite tight in the shoulder.
It's tough. Yeah, and especially if you've got any shoulder stickiness there, it's hard. It's a hard pose.
Okay. Yeah, that's basically it.
Okay, but just explore it, and I recommend when you guys practice, do it maybe with your Zoom camera on, unless you have a mirror or something you can work with, because just as Rohan saw now, he could check himself, and you could see that, oh, my arm wasn't in the right place. And then you can kind of look and use your camera or video yourself. It's super, super helpful. And when Catherine and I practice, we always video ourselves so we can see what we're doing wrong and then correct ourselves. And it's so, so helpful because it might feel like it's in the right place, but then when you check, it's not. So absolutely, that twisting in the chest to open you up. I'm going to talk more about it now in the triangle as well, because it is a tricky movement. There's a lot going on. This is why I was saying I wanted to jump into these poses because they're quite complex. There's quite a lot going on there. Any other questions? Still with me? Okay. So next.
Feels really good. It feels so much better. I love that. Thank you.
You like the sweep?
Yeah.
I know, I love it as well. And Taryn always laughs at me because she watches your teaching pracs. And the students are always like, no, not this way. You must sweep from the floor down and then in line with the ear, because you can feel how much easier it is to get that shoulder into that position. Shoulders are very complex joints. They're hard to work with, and we use them hectically in yoga. So any kind of movement that can help that can have a huge impact. Yes, hi Matt.
Hi, Laura. I just wanted to ask, the cue I often hear with the feet is that you should be trying to drive them apart into the mat. And what is that still relevant? Is that still something we should?
I love those kind of subtle cues. You can either feel like you're trying to split your mat apart, or for some people, you can even say, try and draw your feet towards one another. So you kind of engage more the midline, or you're kind of pushing outwards. And I think depending on your body, whatever subtle cues feels good for you, I think is awesome.
Okay, thanks.
Anything to engage more muscle and bring more strength. And if it feels good, awesome, go for it. Yeah. So we're really looking at the big actions and shapes of these poses now, but you feel the more you do it, the more finer little things you will find in your body, or take from other teachers that feel good, like Matt says, like feeling like you're pushing the mat apart, to bring in those little subtle cues as well. Okay. All right, so we're going to move into the last one of this kind of series where they're all linked together, and triangle pose. One page ahead. So that will be on page one up. Triangle pose or Teacher Trikonasana, page 50. Yep. Okay, you with me? All right. So these all link beautifully together, as we said before, because they have the same foot position. Okay. But the big difference here now is your legs are straight. So how is that going to change the pose from warrior 2, where the knee is bent, to now where the leg is straight? What muscle difference has happened? Yes, Laura? Yes, Dee?
No, sorry. Can I ask a hard question?
Yeah.
Is there some way that I can look at that manual while I'm looking at you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I just got it up. I can kind of scroll over it and kind of put it up. But I don't know who's technical here that will explain how to do this better than me. There isn't the best way of doing it. You're going to have to just do it separately, Dee. And print your manual if you
That's no problem. I'll work it out.
Print your manual or
actually
have
think
it
I'm
on
gonna do
another
that, yeah.
device. I don't know. Split screen, Anna says.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
technical gurus here. I'm I'm not one of them. Okay. All right. So maybe after this session, Dee, just go through and make some notes for yourself or skim over. Okay. All right. So we said there's going to be a difference in muscles. Okay. When we were in Warrior 2, what muscles were working? You felt them burning. Yes. Those thighs, your quadricep muscles were working, right? And now that the leg is straight, moving into triangle pose, what's going to feel different? What's happening?
Hamstring will engage.
Yes, Sheena?
Hamstring.
Hamstrings! Your hamstrings and your inner thigh muscles now are being stretched. Okay, so when we think and just plant the seeds towards around peak poses, okay, whoa, jumping ahead now. If I need a pose where I'm stretching my hamstrings and my inner thighs, triangle pose would be an awesome pose for that. Right? Cool. Just start to think a little bit around, oh, what would this be a good prep for with different muscles working? Okay. So this one, there's a lot going on. We've already spoken about the hips and how that completely changes the pose. Okay, so that's going to be a huge one. All right. So again, we're going to come from plank, downward dog, step hips through, open up. And my hips, I've got natural hip position and same foot position as the previous poses. Okay, so my hips are like this. In this pose, it's the most obvious. So I can always see straight away, if you haven't allowed your hips to go with you, you're in this pose. And if you allow this back hip to roll towards the floor, all of a sudden, you can actually get into that triangle. So it has a massive, massive impact. Okay, so that's the main thing I want you to integrate into your practice, is to let this hip come forwards. Even if you exaggerate it, it's totally cool. Okay, so we've allowed that hip to come with so that we can fold from the hip, and now I'm actually accessing my hamstrings and my inner thighs because I've come down enough. All right. Hand options here. You can have your hand on your shin. You can have your hand on the floor. You could have your hand on a block, like we saw earlier. So you've got all those options, and it just depends where it feels best for your body. Okay. You can also have your hand hovering, which is a little bit harder because it's going to really strengthen the sides of your body and work your obliques more. Okay. I don't mind, whatever works for you is best. Okay. So once you find a position for your hand, we're looking at the waist, okay? In our triangle, and I think it was you, Michaela, earlier, you said allow the hips to tip. You can allow for that. Allow your back hip to push out, front hip kind of moves in, and think of keeping your waist lengthened on both sides. So I quite like this instruction of reaching your hand away from you to make you aware to keep the side, this bottom side of the body long rather than this. Okay, so it's quite tricky. I'm going to give you an adjustment there to feel on yourself. Taking the top hand underneath your bottom rib. We don't want this bottom rib shortening into your waist, okay, so that you're like in a little side bend. You almost want to take this bottom rib and slide it towards your armpit. Could you see the difference? When my rib slides towards my armpit, I'm going to have more of a stretch. So it's also sometimes hamstring dependent. And then once you've got that length in the bottom waist, you can also use this hand to just twist the chest open, like Ruan was feeling in that side angle pose. Twist the chest open and reach up through the top hand. Okay, one more thing here. And what actually really helps to twist more, okay? So if we're looking from this angle, what tends to happen is most people lean forwards. Can you see that? My hips are back there and my shoulders are leaning forwards. And then you're kind of like stuck here and you end up throwing your arm behind you, but you're not really opening the chest. So another thing to look at is to lean back so that your shoulder is over your bottom shin in this kind of line, okay? And when you lean back, you can turn and open your chest more. Okay, and it's that feeling of kind of leaning your shoulders back onto a wall. And then you're not just dropping your arm back, but that you've actually opened up and twisted. Okay, I think that's enough all in one go. Let's give it a bash and see how it feels. So from your plank into downward facing dog. Okay. Yes, Ari, better, but now lift your bum up towards the ceiling. Yes, exactly, and push into those hands. Better, nice. Let's take a big step forwards with the right foot, or whichever foot you wish to do first. And turn and open out to the side and come up to straighten your legs for triangle pose. Firstly, just let your hips be natural. Relax your hips. Yes. Straighten your front knee and let your hips just be normal. Arms out to the sides. Reach your hand. So come up, Clara. Let's come from the top. Reach your hand towards the right. Marley, try and take your legs wider again. Yes. Yes. Now, Clara, because you've come up now, look down. Make sure you're not leaning forwards. Keep your shoulders over that bottom shin on the way down. Bring your hand onto the shin or the ankle or the floor or a block. Now lean your shoulders back. Yes, and twist your chest open. Can you feel how that leaning back helps with that twist? Okay, now that adjustment I did with the hand on the rib, take your left hand and place it under your bottom rib cage. Can you see that rib wants to shorten up into your waist? Try and slide your rib towards your armpit as if you're lengthening your bottom waist more. It's a hard one to describe. Yes. Swap hands there, Amy. Other hand on your bottom rib. Yes, that's the one. And now use your hand on your rib to also turn and twist your chest open. It might not work for you. I'll show it to you again if you like. Okay, and then slowly come back up to standing. Windmill your arms and come back to the mat. Good. Let's feel that on the other side, downward facing dog. Left side, stepping the left foot forwards. Make sure you're coming from plank downward dog so your stance isn't too short. Good. Opening up, line your heels up. So heel in line with arch of the back foot. Legs are straight. Natural hip position. Tick all the boxes from the base moving up. Arms out to the sides. Reach towards your front leg. Let that back hip come with you. Some of you are still trying to open your hips. Clara, let that back hip roll towards the floor more. Yes, good. Hand to shin or ankle or floor. Good. Cindy, lean your shoulders back more. Look down. Your shoulders should be stacked over your bottom shin. The more you lean back, the more it helps you to twist open. Annalise, let your back hip roll towards the floor more natural hips. Ah, I know it's such a habit. I will show you again. Top arm straight up, lengthen through the bottom waist. And twist your chest to the side. It's complicated. It's complicated. Nice, Belinda. Yes, nice, Lara. Beautiful pose there. Yes, Shani, that's a beautiful pose. That's it. Amy, come up a little bit higher and try and lengthen your bottom. There, your bottom waist. Now you're perfect. Can you see that? Lovely. Top arm straight up to the ceiling. There, that's your pose. Nice, Michaela. Yes, Dee, nice pose. Beautiful, guys. Come up, release. And back into downward facing dog. Okay, so I'm still seeing a lot of open hips. Take a little break wherever you feel comfortable. Annalise, remember to bring that hip around. I know it's so ingrained. It's so ingrained. Does it make sense what I mean about the hips? I'm going to show you one more time, okay? Just because this pose is quite complicated, okay? One more time on the hips. So once we're here, to let this back hip literally turn it to the side. So your hips are on a diagonal. So when you come forwards like this hip is pointing towards the floor. Okay, so it comes around. And I can see it straight away. If it's open, I can see this is not able to come with you. So this hip must turn towards the floor. Okay, and then with your hand on your rib, we're lengthening the bottom side of the body. So what we're looking for here, can you see my waist? There's almost like two parallel lines. It's not quite parallel because of the bump at the moment, but we want two almost straight lengthened waists and the arms straight up. So I've got a triangle between my legs. I've got a triangle here between my waist, my leg, and my arm. And those are the lines that we're looking for. Okay, not shortening the waist and not opening up the hip. Okay, and the last point there, if you're making notes, remember all these, this is a tough pose. We're not leaning forwards, but we're leaning the shoulders back so shoulders are over the bottom shin. Okay, this one's probably the hardest out of all these basic standing poses. Triangle takes the longest to get all those points. Okay, so a little extra star on this one. And make some notes. Yes, Nicole, that's looking great. Nicole, you were sticking your ribs out slightly there. Try not to be in a back bend. So I know we're all so different because when you're leaning back now, your ribs are sticking forwards. A little bit of a softening in your ribs from the split second I saw you there, Nicole. Okay. Yes, Clara, better with those hips. And now be on your fingertips of your bottom hand. So you've got a little cupcake hand. Yes, Clara. Stay there, Clara. Now lean your shoulders back a little bit towards your jacket behind you. Yes, look down at your shin. Lean back a little bit more. So your shoulder, yes, can you see? It feels like you're leaning back, but you're not. Can you feel? Yes. Now top arm straight up towards the ceiling. There we are. We come back into it if you feel okay. You're giving us such a beautiful demonstration. Okay, just going to the other side. So natural hip position. Can you see Clara's still turning her hips to the side? I know, it's such a hard habit to break. Could you see the difference in her hips? From that to that. Okay. Can you see that, Annalise? Then she's reaching to put her hand on her shin. Now, Clara's going to do cupcake hands, little fingertips like this. Yes. She's leaned back much more on this side. Keep your bottom arm straight, Clara. Yeah, that's it. Be on your fingertips, still quite high up on those fingertips. I know I'm so fussy. Now, your top arm, take it over. Yes, there you are. Now, look towards me so you're not straining your neck. Roll both shoulders back and down. So Clara, when you're there, try and rotate your shoulders back and open your chest more. Yes! Can you feel the difference? Beautiful. And then you can release and come up. So there's all these things to now integrate with those natural hips, the leaning back, so many different points to think about. Can I say one more? You saw with Clara there, once you're in your triangle, your bottom arm, this shoulder tends to roll forwards. You want to think about it, it's almost like that last point, roll your bottom shoulder back and down. Okay, so you've got that beautiful open line across the chest. Much better with those hips and the lean back there, Clara. Could you feel? It felt like you were leaning back, but sometimes we actually just need to visually look at my shin. Oh my God, okay, there's actually where I need to lean back. Yes, Ruan, nice pose. Stay there, Ruan. Can you see how Ruan has opened across his shoulders and his chest beautifully into that pose? He's got his natural hip position because we can see his torso has come down beautifully. The front knee is not perfectly straight. It doesn't matter because he's got everything else going. Perfect. That is it. Well done. Now like that every time. Okay, so much to think about. Any questions? Nicole.
I sometimes I hyperextend my front leg. And it sort of like hurts or
I knew
feels
this
like
would come up. Will you show us what you mean for the others, please? If you don't mind. So hyperextension is when the knee goes more than straight. Yeah. So lucky not too severe. Oh, now let those hips be natural, Nicole. So Nicole, what you can think of doing here, we can bring in one of Matt's kind of instructions. Try and squeeze the mat towards you. Like if you're trying to bring your feet together, so you're engaging more muscle. How does that feel?
that feels better.
There we are. So sometimes just with a little subtle activation, like pushing the mat apart, in this case, squeezing the feet together, work to just engage more muscle to stabilize the knee. Thanks, Nicole. And then will you do the pose for us one more time? Because Nicole actually comes into a beautiful pose in triangle. Stay there with your natural hips, arms out to the sides. There you are. Lengthening through the bottom waist. Lovely. Beautiful. And she hasn't popped the ribs, so that's perfect. Yeah. Could you see how she lengthened her waist there? Lovely. And it's so nice to just see it on different bodies as well, because we all look different in the pose. And that's the beautiful part about this, is we're all in the same pose, but we all look totally different. And we're doing it how it suits our bodies best. Okay. So hyperextended knees, sometimes just engage a little bit more, bring in more strength. If it's really sore, just bending the knee a little bit can take pain out of the situation. Okay. It's always a tricky thing to work with because you don't want to bend your knees constantly either. So I say if it's not a painful thing, it's okay. But see if you can bring in more strength so that you're not sitting back into that joint, but that you're engaging more muscle around your knee. Okay.
Okay.
So it's the same for you, Ron. So try that little squeezing technique as well to engage more strength rather than sitting into the joint. Okie dokie. Well done, everyone. How are you all feeling? Okay. Okay, so that was quite a lot. That was quite a lot to take in. I'm going to give you a moment just to make some notes and just scan over those very important weak poses we've just covered. Okay, make some notes for yourself. If you want to run it in your body again, please feel free to. Just take a moment to let that all be straight. Yes.
I just want to make sure, like, so when
Sorry, Annalise, the Wi-Fi is being funny. I can't hear you very well. We lost Annalise.
I think my
yeah, your connection's going funny. Annalise, type it in the chat box or send me a little picture or video if you don't get your question across in the next few minutes. We'll come back to you, Annalise. Amy, you've got your hand up.
Yes, I wanted to ask, with pretty much all the movements with like warrior 1 and 2 and also going to the triangle, is it now you're supposed to lock your leg? So if it's like this, must it be locked in the back? Or
So
should there
there's
be
a
some
great
give?
example of a hyperextended knee for you as well. Show us again, Amy. And the word lock, I wouldn't want to use the word lock. So when Amy straightens her knee, can you see it goes kind of more than straight? You can see in the front of her knee, it's kind of like a little zigzag. And by her calf, it's like bowing back, all right? So Amy, I wouldn't say lock the knee. Try and slowly bend your knee a little bit. Draw your kneecap up to engage your quad. There. Can you feel you're tensing your quadricep muscles now? Your leg, your quads are on. Can you feel that?
Yeah.
If you lock your knees, feel the difference. Lock your knee, just push it back. You feel your quads actually don't work very hard. You're kind of just sitting into the joint. It kind of gets a bit lazy. So for you, rather, going to slowly straightening your knees and drawing that kneecap up and feel a slight tension in your thighs rather than snapping that knee back.
Okay, and also in the back one. So
Yeah,
also just
absolutely.
make sure that it isn't completely.
Yeah, exactly. It's so tricky to work with because that feels straight for you, where now it's going to feel like it's correct. So I always say hyperextended knees is quite awkward working with hyperextended knees because it's easier to lock your legs straight. I don't like the word lock, but it's relevant for this. But for you, better, because you need to build that strength, rather feel kneecaps drawing up than just snapping back into your joints. Always. As a general rule, when your legs are straight, you are controlling that extension of your knee. And it's going to make you more mindful of how you straighten your leg. Okay.
I think what's helpful for me is to kind of think of it as like when you're just about to kind of push off the floor, like push the whole body off the floor, like that tension kind of helps me to not hurt my knee.
Awesome. Awesome. I love that, Clara. That's cool. It's a tricky thing to work with. And you got to find what technique, what thought, what helps you to kind of bring in a little bit more stability around that. Yeah. And when in doubt, a little micro bend in the knee is always an easy thing to fall back on. But you still want to have your legs engaged to a fairly straight point. Very tricky. And it's more of an issue when you're on one leg and balancing, like a warrior 3. So usually with your arms out in front of you and your leg is going to hyperextend so much, then I say bend the knee a little bit. You just don't want any pain around your knee. Okay. Annalise, you're back.
I'm back.
Okay.
Okay, so what I wanted to ask you was what you meant. Where did I go wrong? Did I try and open my hips like this? So I'm supposed to roll that.
We lost you again, Annalise, but yes, that was correct. I think we don't want the hips open like you're doing there. You want to allow that back hip to roll forwards. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, you're absolutely right.
Good.
Okay. So practice that now because it's going to take some getting used to integrate that change. It's quite something. Okay. All right, Dore, I'll recap these all with you again and reinforce all of this. And send me pictures and videos during the week if you're not sure as well. Okay, guys. You're all happy with that? I'm going to move on to some more poses. I know at this point you're feeling probably a little bit tired. That's all good. Just understand what's happening in the body and you can always practice this more. Okie dokie. Okay. So I'm going to flip to Utkatasana, chair pose. So back towards the front, just after Tadasana, mountain pose. I'll get your page number for you now. Chair pose, page 44. Your legs are working hard today. All right, so for chair pose, chair can be done in many different ways, right? I'm going to show you 3 different versions of chair, after which then you can play with it and we'll see how it goes. We did it in the class this morning, so you're going to hear a lot of the similar cues, and then we can chat about it a little bit more. So when we come into chair pose, feet are together, if that works for you. It's actually easier when your knees are apart. You kind of have to work a little bit harder so that the knees don't do anything funky. Traditionally, feet together, but as always, whatever works best for you. Okay, so I'm going to sweep hands from the ground. So when I do this, it's a very Ashtanga way of getting into the pose, but I quite like it. It gets you low, okay? So if your fingertips touch the ground, you keep in this low squat, and I don't straighten my legs, I just rise my body up, okay? What you want to feel in the legs is weight back into the heels. Okay, so you felt last night how we were shifting forwards and back. Now in your chair, I'm going to say weight back. The more you shift your weight back, the lower you can sit down into your chair. Okay, so we often hear the cue in chair pose to tuck the tailbone, right? If you tuck your tailbone, you can't squat down as low. So it's a bit of a feeling of sitting your bum back to get low into chair pose. And often the reason for the cue tuck is you might feel your back muscles are working, okay? Especially when your arms are up in chair, okay? You can feel it's an intense pose, you can feel it. You will feel your back muscles working, which is not a bad thing because there are also muscles there and they also need to be strong. Actually, really important to have a strong back, okay? So leave the tucking of the tailbone, sit your bum back. You will see you are then just in the natural curves of the spine. I'm not in a back bend, I've got a natural curve, and because my arms are up, I've added what we call load, weight, okay, to my back muscles. You felt it when we did Warrior 3 last night. Remember, it was quite nice when we had hands down here and in aeroplane, but as soon as we took our arms overhead, it was so much harder. Do you remember that? And the reason is our arms are heavy and they're adding weight, they're adding load, making the pose harder. And that's exactly what's happening in chair pose as well, and why you will feel your back muscles working a little bit, but it's fine, okay? Of course, to make that easier, I could just bring hands to heart center and it would be making that pose much more gentle. You've got other options like we did in the back bend sequence today. To do a little back bend with fingers interlaced, I can back bend in chair. And I can also do chair quite upright and just kind of think of sliding down to give more of a stretch into my Achilles and my calves. Okay, so many ways of doing chair pose. We're going to come into the standard version with arms up overhead to start. Okay, so come to stand with your feet together. Tadasana, mountain pose. If it's better for you to have feet hip distance apart, whatever works for your feet, go for it. All right, bend your knees and brush your fingertips across the ground. Squat low. Stick your bum out. Don't tuck it, stick it out. Yes, now sweep your arms up without straightening your legs at all. Yes. Shift your weight back into your heels of your feet. Notice now how you can sit lower. Nice pose there, Ari, that's it. Your arms are reaching up. Lift your chest slightly. Can you feel your arms are making this pose heavy? Bring your hands to prayer in the center of your chest. Much easier, right? Then arms up over again, above your head. Wow, much harder because of load. Come back up to standing. Take a little break. Okay, could you feel the difference with those arms? It changes everything. So we can make a pose harder or easier depending on where you put your arms. One more version. Again, standing with your feet together or slightly apart. Bend your knees and brush your fingertips across the ground. Sit your bum back. Don't tuck your bum. Stick your bum out. Sit low. Sit low. Clara, drop your bum down lower. Yes. Weight back into the heels. Inhale, arms up. Circle your hands behind your back. Interlace your fingers. And inhale, lift your chest into a little back bend in chair. Yes, and we can do this when we're teaching back bends. And then release, come back up to standing. Shame, I know your legs are tired. And then one last version, be upright with arms above your head in high mountain. And then imagine your back is against a wall. And just slide down the wall. Notice how you can't go as low. You'll be stopped by your Achilles tendon, so just behind your heel. Yeah, and that's just a different way of being in the pose in a more upright version. Okay, and then release because your legs are tired. Okay, many ways to do a pose. It always depends on what you're doing it for or who you're doing it with. Shake it out, take a seat, relax. Okie dokie. So why would we put this pose into a sequence? What could we do it for? What kind of peak pose may we have in mind? Go for it, Clara.
Warrior 3 like yesterday.
Yeah, we can bring it in for something like Warrior 3 as an entry point. Maybe Warrior 3, I would focus more on hamstring stretching though, because I won't be working my quads more. What poses do we kind of squat and want to get low into and work our quads?
I was thinking crow.
Yes, Alice, 100%. So for a sequence like crow, my knees are bent. I need to squat low to get into crow. Chair pose would be an awesome prep to get those legs squatting and bending low. So that would be a more relevant reason to bring it into a sequence, absolutely. Yeah. Mostly for things like crow and arm balances. And if I was doing a twisted crow, right, I would do the twisted chair to bring in the twist, to resemble those points of, again, squatting low, but adding in a twist. All right, just putting it out there. Don't worry about that yet. All righty, so that is our Utkatasana chair pose. Do you guys have any questions around your chair? Could you feel weight back into your heels and sitting your bum back got you lower into the chair? Okay, so those are useful instructions for this one. Okay. Clara, go for it.
I feel like I have very like stiff ankles,
Yeah.
and then especially when I do the low chair, I feel like because I have a very short upper body, I feel like the balance is completely off. So I don't know if you have any good tips.
So I think this is so cool because just as we're talking, like everyone's so different, proportions play a huge role. So if you have longer legs and a shorter torso, some poses might be easier or harder. Or if you've got longer arms, a lot of things come a lot easier because you can reach and touch your foot a lot easier because your arms are simply longer. So exactly like this, Clara feels like her proportions feel different. My tip, it would be with a block. So a nice way to modify in this pose, and it's really quite fun if you want to get into it, is to have your heels on a block. So basically I've taken the Achilles work out of the situation so that I can actually sit down lower. And there's actually nothing stopping me from going really low because of the block. So that's kind of a fun way of playing with it. I mean, it's totally fine. The way you were doing it is also perfect. But for a reason, if you wanted to try, bringing in props can make things actually work nicer for your body too. Cool. If you're happy, I'm going to move through to our goddess pose. which is on the next page. Okay. So the next two poses, Goddess and Skandasana, they're not your like traditional yoga poses, okay? Traditional yoga poses, maybe those original yoga poses, and we refer to the Yoga Bible, BKS Iyengar Light on Yoga, for really those like traditional poses that you see in Ashtanga and Iyengar and those styles of yoga. Because we teach vinyasa and we like to do cool transitions, like spinning around our mat and changing from the front of the mat to the back of the mat and all this choreography basically, these poses kind of have been brought in and creative to bring in more transitions. Okay. And I think they're really quite fun, and it's obviously pulled from also different styles of movement, like martial arts, I'm sure, to bring in all these different feelings into our yoga classes, and are totally relevant for sequences like we're going to do tomorrow, where we do arm balances, where we want to get a really nice stretch into our inner thighs and opening up the hips. These poses are awesome prep poses as well. Okay. So Goddess pose, we did it this morning in the class. Okay. Goddess pose, the main thing we're watching out for here is that the knees don't want to roll in. Okay. That we place the feet in ideal position for your hips. Okay. So that your knees don't roll forwards. So often we may have come from something like a high lunge, and then we can open out into a goddess pose. Okay. What we don't want is the knees rolling in. Can you see that? When we squat here, you want to press your thighs outwards so that your knees are kind of following the line of your toes. Okay. So if your knees turn out really wide and you've got a huge range of external rotation in your hips, your toes might point out to the side. Maybe if your hips are a little bit tighter, your feet might be more at about a 45-degree angle. So we're looking to press those thighs out. Okay. You can do whatever arms you want in goddess pose. Prayer, cactus arms, straight, whatever feels good for you. We'll do it in a little cactus arm position for our goddess. Okay. I'm going to bring in Skandasana while we're here. Skandasana, we'll do these two together just to speed along. From your goddess, you can squat down into a Skandasana. Okay. Those working with knee issues here, be mindful. This is quite a squat. Okay. You can also come into Skandasana, which we'll do tomorrow, from a low lunge. Okay, and then I can bring my hands to the inside and turn out into a Skandasana. Okay, my bottom heel, and for most of you, your bottom heel will be lifted. Okay, for some of you, you may have that bottom heel down. Just depends on your ankle flexibility again. Your straight leg, toes are flexed up towards the ceiling, and you're going to be feeling a major inner thigh stretch on this side, and that is one of the huge benefits of this pose. Okay, hands to pray, and you can also forward fold to bring your knee higher towards your upper arm. And from here, we always kind of flow and transition to the other side. And a nice way then to get from the front of your mat and then turn to the back of your mat and use either of these two poses to transition from one side to the other side. Okay. So let's give that a go. Come from your plank downward dog, and we'll just use that as a little flow. Stepping your right foot forwards, you can come into a high lunge. And then turn to the side of your mat and open out into a goddess pose. Turn both feet out. Bring arms into a cactus position. And now have a look at your knees and thighs. Watch your knees aren't rolling inwards, but that you're pressing your thighs out. Yes. And your knees are following the line of your toes and not rolling in. Beautiful. Now turn towards your left leg and take high lunge facing the other side of your mat. So you've used this pose as a transition to change from right to left. Good, and then come down into a downward facing dog, facing the other side of your mat, just for fun. Okay, now step your left foot forwards, or if you want, you can do your right foot again if you wanted to spin around the whole mat. And now from low lunge, come from a low lunge this time. Bring your hand to the inside of your foot, and then turn to face the side of your mat and come into Skandasana. All right, so this is quite tough. Let your bottom heel lift off the floor there, Clara. Put your hands on the floor. Your bottom heel will most likely pop up, okay? And your extended leg that's out to the side, turn those toes up to the ceiling. Those with knee issues, be mindful here. So Cindy, turn your toes up towards the ceiling of your left foot. Yes, all the way up. There you are, you've got it. Hands in prayer. You can be upright or you can fold forwards to bring your upper arm below your bent knee. Yeah, Ari, that's a perfect variation of the pose. If that's better for you, awesome. Transition to the other side. Hands either on the floor. You can keep your hands in prayer if you're feeling fierce. Good. And the flexy ones just love this because your bum's almost on the floor, you crazy woman. Good. Yes. And now face back towards the front of your mat and step back into downward facing dog. How did that go? And release. Anyone with knee issues having any issues with those poses? Yeah, Ari, not a nice one for knees, right?
To my mic, yeah.
Yeah.
I had a cartilage up about 2 years ago, so I'm missing about 15 to 20% of my median meniscus on this right knee. And yeah,
Like how Ari modified his pose, he was almost between the goddess and a Skandasana. Can you show us how you did it a little bit more upright, Ari? Because I think it's a really awesome version of the pose. So from here, Ari just squatted towards one leg, beautiful, and don't go too low, don't force it now. And then when you went to the other side, and then just stay upright, don't go as far. Perfect, that is fierce, it's actually harder. And then come back up and release. It's harder being more upright than sitting all the way down on the floor. So please be aware that these poses can be strong on the knee because it's a huge bent knee position and you've added weight. You're adding your body weight onto that bent knee and it won't feel so nice. And Ari, that was actually amazing what you were doing there. It's harder. Then if we look at Amy as a comparison, who's too flexy in this pose, she's almost got her bum on the floor when she came down the one time. She's a little bit more together now. Yes. Can you see her leg is just about resting on the floor? So for Amy, I would say to her, try and engage a bit more. I mean, she's actually totally fine. But also feel your strength in the pose. The higher you come up, if we made Amy do it now, how Ari was doing the pose, come up higher, Amy, put your heel on the floor and hover between the floor. Yes, now she's gonna really work. And in some ways it's actually better. And then slowly move on to the other leg like that. And she's gonna start complaining. Okay, so be mindful that these poses can be quite nasty on the knees. Okay. Yes.
How open is the knee that you're down on?
As far as it goes,
more to the front.
You're trying to open that knee a little bit out to the side. It depends on your body though. For some of us, it'll open just a teeny bit, for some, a lot. So it kind of depends on your shape of hip socket, how far your leg opens, but it is turned out to whatever degree works for your body.
All right.
Okay, is that all right, Dee?
Yeah.
Okay. Quite hard poses, and often we just quickly move through them, and I'm going to play with them a lot in tomorrow morning's class. So if there are uncomfortable poses for you, be mindful not to go as low. Anyone else having any issues with this one? Because it often is one of those poses. Elaine.
Yeah, I just feel like I couldn't do that one at all.
So please, you can modify, like you saw Ari doing the hard, nice, fierce version. But when it comes to Skandasana, you can also just use, oh, sorry, I meant to do that on me. You can use your hands a little bit more. I'm trying to get myself there, yeah. So from here, you can be more like this, okay? So you're using your hands. You don't maybe have to come all the way down. This is quite hard to bring your hands off the floor. Use the support of your hands either to be more upright. So it's kind of like goddess on the one side, and then you just to see how that feels for you. Okay, it's not easy, so explore it. And we're going to do it quite a lot tomorrow, and we'll see how we kind of go in the class as well, how that feels. Okay, but not something to get silly about and force and hurt yourself, especially if you're working with any hip, knee kind of issues. Okay. Any other questions with those two poses? Okay, cool.
Yeah, Laura.
Yes, Matt.
Yeah, so as you get right down to the pinnacle of the stretch, the area that's tight is sort of, is it the inside of the knee? Okay, I'm just checking that the point is.
Unfortunately, it's kind of your tendon behind your knee there, where those hamstrings and everything is attaching. And over time, with strengthening and lengthening those muscles, it can feel better, but not a nice area to kind of force the stretch. So if you feel like it's stretching too intensely behind the knee, just bend the knee a little bit to take some of that pressure off.
Okay, thanks.
But very normal to feel it there. Just not the most friendly stretch. All right, and then Amy, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, would you recommend your foot to be flat or on the ball of your foot when doing it? Or is it just something of personal preference?
Whatever works for you. If you can put your heel on the floor and that feels good, go for it. For most of us, ball of the foot is the only option. Whatever works for you is perfect. Okay. It just kind of depends on your ankle flexibility and how much range you have in your ankle and your Achilles tendon. It's not going to change it too much. You may just sit your bum lower like we saw with you. Both is fine. Okay. And Clara?
I think for the other foot, I haven't quite been able to do it myself yet, but I remember I had a teacher who said rather than being on this side, kind of aiming for like being on the tip here.
Oh, interesting.
So that you're kind of pushing down, but I haven't quite figured out how to do it myself.
I can't quite figure that out myself, to be honest. I think you would just not flex your foot as much. You would be a little bit more towards a pointed toe, or in between a point and a flex, which might actually feel quite nice for like you with your knees. So I don't think it's a bad thing at all. And I think it would be a cue to actually help you from locking back in your knee, if anything. And again, if it's one of those subtle instructions that works for you, awesome. Let me know. I'll have to try. Okay. Any other questions with any of the poses we've done today? Okay.
Sorry.
Hi.
Sort of feels like I want to hyperextend my knee.
It's quite a deep, intelligent stretch. So it is okay. It is okay. Don't be afraid now if your knee goes more than straight, it's going to break. It's fine. If it's very painful, then bend your knee a little bit and back off. If it straightens a bit more than straight, it's fine. It's totally fine. It's more of an issue when there's pain involved, then back off. But a lot of the time, it's all good. It's just your bone structure. It's just your legs doesn't stop there. It just stops a little bit more there, and that's okay. if there's no pain. So all good. Okay. Sometimes teachers get really stuck on the hyperextended knees and then tell everyone they need to bend their knees, otherwise their knees are going to break. It's like, no, it's fine. It's totally cool. If it's sore, back off a bit. If it's all right, it's also a proprioception thing, because if you're bending your knees the whole time, you're never getting that sense of straightening the legs as well. So it's quite a tricky thing. But we don't need to get too stuck on it if there's no pain. Okay. Well done, guys. That was a lot. That was a lot of information. And please practice these as much as you can and get it in your head, because it's different from maybe how you've done it before. And we're going to really, really focus on getting these poses perfect. So the sooner you can integrate all of these things, perfect for your body, the better. Okay. This will be a huge portion of your pose assessment that I'll be doing with you towards the end of the course. So yeah, we'll be working on them lots. If you have any questions that come up about them, always feel free to send me a picture or a video, WhatsApp me and say, I don't know what I'm doing, something weird's happening, and we can check in, okay? You guys did really, really well. I'm sure you're feeling a little bit exhausted. Catherine will be seeing you at 2:45 for an anatomy chat. You'll be doing some anatomy videos later on this afternoon. Have a lovely afternoon. Really well done. And I'll see you tomorrow morning. Well done.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Have a good rest.
Thank you.